And we're live. All right. You know what? It's been a while since we've done this, so I'm going to just right off the bat. Nice.
I forgot how to play this game.
Can we do a real quick recap of the rules? Okay, I'm going to share the link real fast. I shared it yesterday, but I'm going to share it again just to make sure anyone who might be wanting to watch who forgot. Let's say, just to make sure anyone who might. Whoa, I'm hearing my voice.
That's past tense, Gary.
That's weird. That's eerie. Okay. Here we go. Facebook. Okay, there's the link. Here we go. Facebook. All right.
Did you share it to Dinosaur?
It's on my post. No. It's just my personal Facebook page. So
there we go.
All right.
Okay. Gentlemen,
we're back. It's been a while since we've done a top 5. Life, we've all been busy, but then out of the darkness came Chris Ward with a fantastic idea for a top 5 that was also holiday appropriate. Chris, why don't you just go ahead and introduce the topic for us?
Okay, so as a fan of the show, I'm always trying to think of, top 5 things, but I can't always think of something I'm so passionate about. I really want to do pinball, but I know y'all aren't as deep into pinball as I am. But I thought of board games, because what else are the holidays for but getting the family together and having a great / the worst time you've ever had as a family. It's that time of year. I have a love-hate relationship with board games in building this list, and I'd like to hear what you guys think. I was surprised by what I picked, not because of like the gameplay, but because of the impact it sort of had on all kinds of areas of my life. And these are board games. There was some drama last time that I picked maybe an item that wasn't within the rules, which we can quibble about. We can get into some answers.
I was fine with it.
Now, Gary, I
the unconventional choice.
A board game being, a classic board game, because board games now are a huge industry, and you've got tabletop games, you've got Settlers of Catan, you've got all these things. But I'm thinking something moves around a board, which begs the question, does something like Battleship count? Different games. So where did we land?
Well, we landed that there has to be some sort of a board. I think that seems like a dumb thing to say, but that immediately excludes Yahtzee. It excludes Texas Hold'em. Like none of that. That's not what we're talking about. There needs to be some kind of an actual physical board of some type.
You know what else it excludes? Boards that have electronics on them and a silver orb, and then a thing you pull back and hit it, and it goes and goes.
It does not.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because what else is pinball but a board game under glass? Because
it is.
Most people don't realize. I never realized until I started playing pinball semi-professionally.
You have been really going down
It's been weird. So, most people get up, they put their money in, they slap the flippers, they walk away. Every pinball game is as close to a board game as. It's the best modern board game, because board games aren't always that fun. Pinball didn't start off that way, but there are deep rule sets, things you do in order, things you go Jurassic Park, literally you go around a board to save people. So weird similarities.
Chris, before we go into the show, I just want to ask Chris one thing, pinball question. Is there such a thing as cheating in pinball?
If you take the glass off, but
like in a tournament.
Well, I won't get into the nerdiness of it, but things like the tilt bob prevent a lot of that. You move the machine, it will tilt.
Okay.
You lift it up to get the ball level, it'll tilt. So that pretty much takes care of everything.
But like people don't like, they don't have like magnets in their scrotums or anything like that, or
not like chess cheater.
Well, I mean, professionally,
we do it Missouri style here.
Okay,
which is a little different.
What does that even mean? So
what he said.
This is how I would say pinball is not a board game, and it's another good like ground rule for this. I think my feeling is there needs to be clear winners and losers. So like that would rule out, for example, a Ouija board. A Ouija board is not a board game. Yes, there's a board. Yes, there's a piece that goes on the board, but there's no winner or loser. It's just like that's not a board game per se. So I think pinball, yes, you could play competitively, like who gets the higher score, but there's not really like two people. I don't know. Maybe there is. Is there a 2-player pinball game where there are 4 paddle? I don't even know how that would work, but
not necessarily, but
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I had a brilliant, and when I say brilliant, mildly clever idea to figure out who goes first. I downloaded a D&D die roller so we can roll a D3 to see who goes first. So are we content with just going clockwise here? Me number 1, Jim number 2, Chris number 3. We'll see what the D3 produces.
Yes.
I'm saying yeah.
Here we go. I'm tapping it. We got a 2. Jim.
All right.
Jim, you're going to get us started, and then we're going to go clockwise from there. So
I'm going first. Okay.
You're going first.
All right.
All right.
Let's just look at this for a while.
Now, are you able to control your slideshow? Well, we'll find out in a second.
I can control my temper.
Wow.
But I can't control how much you enjoy this. So you're going to have to help me with this. But this is this is the most effort that I put into this.
Now, once again, Jim, before you get started, these are not necessarily the best games of all time, right?
No, these are personal.
Our personal top 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think each board game that I picked is an actual. I don't think there'll be any controversy with mine with if they're a board game or not. But I do have to say one that I left out, and I know that we do the honorable mention, but I want to say this up front because it's one of my favorite games, but it's not technically a board game. And if you have it on your list, just be quiet. But I left out Connect 4 because
it's not a board game.
I agree, it's not a board game.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks.
Just because it's vertical. Just because it's, I think the verticality makes it not. It's also not Jenga. Jenga's not a board game.
That's right. All right. So my number 5.
All right.
The game from my childhood that I loved so much. The commercials were great. It was a little competitive, but it's ultimately a lot of luck, but feels like you have skill when you play it. And often ended up in I remember with friends playing it or even cousins in anger. Always ended up in anger, but I just had a great time playing it. And this game, tell me if you remember this game in the Wayback Machine called Stay Alive.
Stay Alive! Oh my God, you just broke my brain. Oh, Jim.
Isn't this is like one of my favorite games of all time. And in case if people don't know what it is.
I do not. I for one do not know what this is.
Think of Hungry Hungry Hippos, but with trap doors. So you have these little levers that in combination, they would open up trap doors. And the object, if I remember correctly, was for your marble to be the last one on the table. But it wasn't, I remember it being hard to predict exactly where it was going to open. There was kind of a method to it, but I don't remember. I think they were working in concert.
You could feel the little clicks sometimes. You could feel.
Yes.
You could sort of. Okay. 2 questions for y'all. Gary and Jim, would you consider your households a game house? Were you a game house?
Yes.
Like we had a lot of games around and things. And I guess I don't have a second question.
But
I'm so
what was it
excited
like
about this
though?
because I went down this rabbit hole of finding all these things I haven't thought about in 25, 30 years or longer. This is one of my first game memories, and I totally forgot about it. And I have
Yeah,
such good
yeah.
memories of this game between my mom and my brother. It's just, I'm so glad, if not for that reason alone, that I did this. So that I
Yeah,
remember that.
I honestly, my number 5, I was having a little bit of trouble with, and so I Googled 1970s board games, and finally I came across this, and I'm like, that's right. If I hadn't put this, I would have just went, So this was one of my favorite games.
To
So
answer
Gary,
your question,
I remember it was thrilling because now these sort of things, they crisscross underneath each other. So sometimes you'd pull one, it wouldn't fall, it would fall. I don't know why it was so exciting, but it was just
it
was.
had a little bit of skill, like you could kind of figure it out. You have to play it to know what we mean, but it wasn't like you're like, oh, I'm going to pull this one and for sure this one's going to fall. But there was kind of a pattern to it. It was just really.
Is it like Hungry Hippos where everyone's just playing simultaneously, or
No,
is it like
it's we took turns, and that's why it was tricky because you had to remember, like for example, real quick, the levers I remember had like three spots, and like the second spot on this one, and then right on across the first spot on that one would cause this one to open. You know what I mean? So you had
to try to remember like the common.
Yeah,
that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, and I don't remember the intricacies if you could only move one spot at a time or not, but by the end it was really fun because you'd have 2 marbles left or 3 marbles left, and it became a really game of skill and chance. But Stay Alive is my favorite stuff, one of my all-time favorites. What a great box too, huh?
Yeah. That is a great look at that. I mean, that is what year is this? That to me just screams late 70s, early 80s, right?
Probably 80 or 81. Probably. Yeah. I'm at least maybe even 79.
Is this
I've
when
got
you
to
can?
think? I've got to thank the website Board Game Geek because I've been down some rabbit holes with things like amusement park rides on YouTube, but not board games yet. And I think I'm about to. And this website had everything.
So. It has them all. Yeah, it was helpful for at least one of my honorable mentions. And I think one of my main picks to kind of try to remember exactly when something came, what versions and stuff like that.
So Milton Bradley put this one out. I remember because it says it on the box. So
yeah,
that's mine.
Stay Alive, so dramatic.
Stay Alive.
So who's next?
Right. It's Chris. Chris is up. All right, great start. We're off to a great start. All right.
Here we go. So this is not a pick, obviously. Bedbugs is the first game I remember owning.
Yeah, I remember that as a child, seeing that in school.
It was a big deal to get it at Christmas. And because of this game for years, I thought bedbugs were just fake. Like that's
right.
The game. Until I got them in my 20s.
And you're like, they're not colorful.
Not
fun. Not fun at all.
Bedbugs do drive you buggy. In fact, 1 in 4 households can get them, and they can live without blood for up to a year. And then, if you can imagine what this does to your mental state, it's quite a trip. So, I hate this game. Let's go to
all right,
to number 5. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
There'll be a theme here.
What am I looking at?
I don't know. I got different games for my numbers.
All right.
That's as creative as I got. My number 5, just going to jump into it. It's called Yipes.
What is this?
Now, Yipes I picked because this is another one like Stay Alive that I forgot about until I started to see it pop up. No pun intended. Here and there. And I remember this is one of the first games I ever had as a kid. It came out in '83. Designer uncredited, which is going to be a theme. Loved this game because it was so simple, and I could play it with my brother. And it had these amazing molded pieces. This molded monster that I loved and still have to this day somewhere.
I would have been all about this. I would have wanted this just for the box.
That's the thing. So a lot of these picks, I would obsess over because with board games, as a kid, because I don't know about you, but I hate playing board games with kids. I love my nieces. I love them.
Yeah.
Playing board games with kids is not great. It's not fun. It tells you
No.
a lot about a kid. It tells you if they're kind, if they're a sore winner, or a sore loser, or a cheating piece of shit who fucking didn't roll a 6.
You should try drinking games with a kid. That's really
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time alone with board games when I thought back, opening them up, looking at the art, drawing the art, rolling the dice, figuring out a way to play alone, figuring out a way to maybe design my own game. This had an interesting top-down view of the board that does like an MC Escher kind of spiral into this dungeon. And the goal of the game is to get into the dungeon, drink the potion, become the monster, and then you're the monster who chases the other kids.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Eat people. So even as a kid, I remember, this is going to sound ridiculous, but kind of scary. Like we were,
Right.
It was a scary thing. And these guys on the box art are just incredible.
They're committed to the gig.
It's a couple of them are a little bit Munster-ish.
Yeah. That mummy is actually a little disturbing.
Yeah.
And I like that it's called the game where you become a monster.
That's I mean, they're not wrong, I guess.
I forgot. I grabbed another game this is the other game I own where you become a monster. The Donald Trump game.
And then you win.
Why do you have that? Just for that? Did you buy it just for that bit? Did you
No, but I thought of it today.
Overnighted Amazon?
It came with
my brother got me that as a gag gift, unopened. So
It's still unopened. Yeah.
maybe I can sell it one day
on Russian eBay.
On Russian eBay. So anyway, that's Yipes. It's got a Pop-O-Matic. My first introduction to the Pop-O-Matic bubble, which one of the most aesthetically pleasing little doodads.
That's fun.
You know that somewhere in the world there's a knockoff called Yikes.
Yikes!
I love that. That's awesome. That is I would like to play.
I hope you
the first 2 games I have never heard of in my life. Like that's amazing to me. I was afraid we'd all be picking the same obvious kind of games. So
yeah, I will say there's a few I didn't include because I was like, look, I'll say right up front, I didn't include Monopoly. I don't know if anybody did, but
I've never heard of it.
I'm good on it.
You're good. Wow. Well, any final thoughts on Yipes?
No, that's enough Yipes.
All right. Okay. Well, here we go. All right. So
very nice.
I photoshopped our names together on the Monopoly board. I was pressed for time this week. I thought I'm just recycling that for my title slide. Why not? Already burned some time on it. All right. So number 5. To respond to a question you threw out there, Chris, it was a big game family when I was a kid. My dad didn't. My dad liked poker. And that was it. That's the complete list. Poker. Like, that was it. But, like, when it came to my mom, and especially my mom's side of the family, it was all about, they had this giant chest of just board games. And they played all the card games. They had all the board games. And the big tradition was to come over and you'd have dinner and people would start drinking and smoking and you'd set up a board game and that board game would go till like 2 a.m. Like, that was always the move. So from an early age, I was indoctrinated in this. And one of the big heavy hitters in that scene in the Ross household, smoking and drinking and playing a board game all night, was Scrabble. Scrabble was huge. Now, it has nothing to do with the gameplay, but right off the bat, what are one of my favorite things about Scrabble? The ASMR of shaking the tiles in the bag. I mean, it's just the nicest, like, it's just, I could listen to that all night. Like, it's just wonderful.
I don't think I ever played Scrabble until in my 30s, late 30s. And then I won the first like 4 or 5 times I played it, I thought I was a badass, and then I realized no, I was just playing against terrible people, probably.
Well, but that kind of gives me a segue into one of the things I like about Scrabble. I think it is, first of all, anyone can, unlike a lot of the games on my list, anyone can learn Scrabble in about 15 seconds. Like, it is not complicated. It's not one of these games where if you haven't played in a year, it's like, what are the rules again? How do we do this? Can someone read what you do if you, like, it's very simple. Make words. Make real words. And the arguments are kind of fun over what is actually a word or not, what should be a word or not, what is or is not in the dictionary. Are we allowing curse words? Are we allowing Spanish? Like, whatever, like, that's kind of fun. I like that it's a good lazy game. Like, of all the games on my list, I think this is the one that requires the least of you when you're playing. So it's real easy to kind of drink and chit chat and, tell jokes and stuff and not lose your place and not lose the game because you're not paying attention. Like, it's very easy, like, to not pay attention at all until it's your turn and then like, oh, and look at your tile rack and look at the board and play something and do fair. Like, it's not there are Scrabble tournaments. You can get really crazy about it. I have seen the dictionaries where you learn all the little 2- and 3-letter words and everything, but that's totally unnecessary. You can be completely casual and have a good time with it. It's a good, solid classic, and to me, it's like kind of the family game. So,
can you
Scrabble
cheat
was
on
always
Scrabble?
intimidating to me, even as a writer. Intimidating as a game because it's like, oh, Mr. Writer guy, come up with some words, Mr. Fancy, and I'm like, most of the time I can't think of 2 words to put together.
Every game that I see, the first question I want to know is, can you cheat in it? So
you can cheat if you're bluffing people on what's a word or not.
Mm-hmm.
Or
that
magnet in your scrotum.
Or with a magnet in your scrotum. Yeah. So, and what I miss, and I almost, in doing this list, I was like, you know what? I want another one of those. We had back in the day with the 70s or 80s edition Scrabble board where each of the little tile spots is recessed, so you can kind of plug the thing in and it'll sit there. It's got like a little divot so they won't just slide around. And also the board rotates. It's on like a lazy Susan, so you can rotate it around. And I was like, I want that again. I forgot about that. Doing this list, I was like, I got to get it. And it's like $150. I don't need it that bad. Like, that's not. But I remembered that as one of the joys of it was just it's one of those games, kind of like this. I should have put it in my honorable mentions, Mousetrap, where it's like part of the fun is the tactile kind of aspect of it. And Scrabble was like that for me, with like the board and the pieces and the sound of it and the little tile racks and all of that, the velvet bag.
This is another thing just about where I grew up, or maybe who I hung around, but there wasn't a lot of like Scrabble, chess, backgammon, like smart learning people games.
Yeah.
I never learned how to play backgammon. Did anyone? I mean, I guess don't spoil it, but I'd be curious if anyone has backgammon on their list. I never even learned how. I don't know.
It's fun.
Well, that's because
it's like I used to like Othello a lot.
Othello is like Go, right?
I like the
black and white pieces. You're flipping them over.
Yes, which again, those things I love to hold.
That has a good, like, a tactile aspect to it. All right, Jim.
Yeah, you play Scrabble in my neighborhood, and we're gonna have a talking to. So, all right, here we go with my number 4.
Let's see it.
Number 4. When this game came out, it was a huge craze. Everybody was playing it, and I thought, And then I was at somebody's house one day, and I said, I'm going to try it, see if I liked it. And I really liked it. And it's the type of game where you feel like you're really good at it until you're not. And then you hit a brick wall. It's kind of it's nice because it's kind of fair. And then certain people get really cocky. But everybody knows this game. It's a standard by Trivial Pursuit.
Okay, yes.
Now, yes.
So Because
This
everybody
is one that came
I
up
did-
as, is it a board game? And I think, of course, yes.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, that's a board.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I would do good at really well at the entertainment section, and that was about it.
I would like to get on eBay, and I mean, I assume they're a lot of money, but you know, when you go to bars around where you live, they have, you know, that shelf of games, and they're all disheveled, and half the pieces are missing, and they're chewed up. There's a lot. You'll see a lot of Trivial Pursuit editions from all over. And recently, I looked at some of the 1980s ones, and it's like ancient tomes of. It's like no one could know this.
Yeah, Genius
And I
won.
thought, oh, I'll do the music and movies stuff, and it's like, it's insane.
I would only win at 80s music. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only topic. And I'm sure, Chris, if Gary and I look hard enough, we'll find you a Trump Trivial Pursuit.
There's got to be one. Here's my one. I almost get a little triggered looking at this, because do you remember the agony and the fury and the rage, not from losing Trivial Pursuit, not by giving a slightly incorrect answer and it not counting, but from putting one of those cheeses in the thing wrong, where it will never come out.
Never.
Like you're trying to pry it out with a butter knife, because it actually has one curved side, but like, especially if you've had a couple beers, you're playing, you plug it in wrong, it goes in easy, does not come back out. Not at all. Absolutely
It's a
not.
lesson, much like in real life, where cheese will get stuck in a colon like that.
Yes.
So it's a learning lesson.
It's a lesson. It's a lesson for your middle-aged life.
That's
That's
right.
another one we didn't have around the house. Too fancy learning.
Really?
But
I felt like everybody had Trivial Pursuit.
we had a version. I had a real like kind of fuck you moment with Trivial Pursuit, because they put out a Star Wars edition, one of the first.
Yeah.
And there was a special pack of cards with Episode 1 questions. Now,
Yeah.
Episode 1 wasn't
I
out
remember.
yet.
Right.
So it was exciting to get this game and be like, what are these questions about Episode 1 going to be? And they're really pretty generic. But one of them was wrong. Like, just factually incorrect. It was something about Jango Fett. And we were all like, no, that's not right. And we may have written a letter.
A strongly worded letter, I hope.
So, like, I've never trusted. Yeah. The piece fell out of the pie like Jango Fett's head out of.
That's right. That's right. Boba wasn't picking up his dad's head. It was just the helmet. Okay. It wasn't stuck in there like a poorly placed Trivial Pursuit cheese.
Now, I wonder, for all
Another
the
memory I have of this game is that, like, I always got really mad when I played this game, because I felt like I should know more.
Does anybody know, the Trivial Pursuitists out there know what those cheeses are? I mean, is there an actual name for them?
Yeah, I'd be curious to know. It was always the
Yeah.
cheeses for us.
They're probably called like nubs or something.
Really? We called them pie. You didn't call them pie pieces?
Or pies. Maybe pies. I don't know. But that is a good Trivial Pursuit question. What are these fucking things called?
They're
Yeah.
called Django's.
They're Jango's.
Dangles?
Jango's head.
All right, Chris.
All right. Very good. Very, very good. All right.
All right.
Chris.
Oh, Connect Four.
Look at that.
Number
Play on
4.
words.
There,
And
see,
my
I
practice
figured a way to fit in the Connect 4 box, at least. So this dopey looking kid.
That kid. Look how much fun he's having.
He's having so much fun. Okay, this game is, I can't remember, so I'm just going to advance.
Dude. What?
Okay, check it out.
Pizza. What does it say?
The year is 1987, folks. The Nintendo Ninja Turtles game is a couple years off. I considered my Ninja Turtle peak years to be 88, 89. All right, I'm in 2nd or 3rd grade, maybe beginning 4th grade. There's some Turtles toys, there's Turtles stuff. This is the only Turtles board game I'd ever seen. And this cover art is like the Eastman and Laird classic comic book Turtles, except Splinter is like from the cartoon. But so none of it makes any sense. It's by Rose Art, which is notoriously the worst art supply company in history. But this was a big Christmas gift that my mom got, and I was so excited to get this. People hated playing this game with me for good reason, because it wasn't that fun. It was just hard. But it had these battles. You would get to fight Shredder and Bebop and Rocksteady, and the way you would do it is to flip this little dice.
I was going to ask, what is going on with this little seesaw dice thing?
It's this insane system they've cooked up down in the lab at Rosart, where one day there are a couple guys at Rosart making the shittiest crayons known to man. And someone pokes their head in and goes, "You guys gotta come upstairs and figure out how this works." So this is what they came up with. There's a pizza spinner that's largely useless. I'm going to advance. I think. I think I've got another slide after this. It just takes a little closer peek.
I wonder how many of those dice things broke. Kids smashing them.
A lot, So here's the back, Cowabunga. It was very convoluted. The rules were complicated, but I love the art. I love looking at the art. I loved drawing the pieces. I like the good guys deck of cards, the battle flipper. I was just starved for like comic book stuff in a small town. And I know it sounds weird to be starved for like comic book stuff at the time, but this is like what we had.
No, in that era, it makes perfect sense.
I like that there were little secret tunnels. The thing I really liked about board games more than playing them was that if the art was good enough, you could disappear into these little worlds, and you could, I would take notebooks and I would try to draw my own games where, you would go through the sewer and then flip the page over and there'd be another game on the back. And I think this really like creatively.
Which is the one with the turtle with the blue? Is that Leonardo? Which one is that?
Leonardo.
Why does Leonardo have flesh-looking breasts?
The Ninja Turtle style guide, I don't think was very buttoned up at this point.
Or was it?
Like why Michelangelo is like the color of a like lightly melted Tootsie Roll.
He's sick. I think he was sick that day. It was for the shoot.
Yeah, they're all different colors, all the turtles.
Or just how Donatello's holding that bow staff.
You guys, I don't see colors. I see turtles.
yeah. They could have drawn Donatello a lot of different ways with that staff, and that's the way they decided to go.
That's the way they went.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, wait a minute. Is Donatello just Michelangelo reversed? I think he might be. I think that might be the same drawing mirrored, but
I don't know. The mouth looks a little different to me.
I mean, maybe a little.
Maybe I'm crazy. But that is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Pizza Power Game. Now, there were a ton of like board games. There was a G.I. Joe, a Transformers. There were a lot of pretty generic. I mean, did board games was it a hot time for them? Or is this just how it is throughout history of board games?
Yeah, I think so.
Ton of licensed stuff.
I think we're out of it now, but I think definitely between like mid 80s all the way up to maybe the early 2000s, there was a board game for everything. Like everything you could imagine. Yeah.
But like kids now aren't playing board games. Obviously. And like
I think they're playing the collectible card games. We sound old now.
So there's not like
interesting for me because at my last job, one of my clients was Mattel, and I worked on the Uno account. And like it was interesting to see them. A lot of these legacy games, like you said, Gary, you went to Target and you were like, so like a lot of these legacy games have like thrived and survived on like that nostalgia power. But they're like reinventing the wheel a lot of times, and it's hard to get people to, not be on their phone.
Well, and Target
board games are a hard sell to fucking begin with.
For people our age, I would think Target is dangerous because they have like whole sections that are like retro editions of these old board games made to look, the box and everything is made to look exactly how you remember from the mid 80s. It's very tempting.
How fun would it be to go to a cabin with all your friends and you guys, I'm in charge of the games, and then you only bring this game.
Just plan a huge rager party. We're gonna have awesome game night, everybody. Game night.
Yeah.
Game night at my place.
When is the last time either of you have played a board game? I'm trying to think of when I even have played a board game. I guess with my nieces.
Are you going to count a digital equivalent or an actual physical board game?
Actual game.
I played a trivia game on Netflix today, so I don't know what counts anymore.
Well, the actual time, like laying out a board, was probably at the beginning of the year, maybe, or I don't know if it was before COVID. Maybe it wasn't.
It's been a while. Yeah. It's been a few years. It's been a few years at least.
What about a rose art game?
Never in my life. And this is another game I did not know. I'm not shocked this exists because it's a licensed thing, but like I completely missed this.
Does Twister count as a board game?
No.
Okay, good.
That's an orgy game.
It's an orgy game. Well, then again,
my house it always was.
So are most board games.
Yeah.
They can be. They can be if you're creative with the rules.
Look, I've lightly dabbled in the poly community. There's something about a good board game.
I remember in 3rd grade playing Twister at school, and I just remember someone saying, "Mr. Lujan, put your clothes back on." It was weird.
I actually don't know if I've ever played Twister. I don't know if I've ever actually seen a Twister like in real life. I don't know. Is that at Target? I haven't even seen that.
Yeah, I'm sure they have it.
It's at Spencer's Gifts, I think.
It's an American classic.
All right. So I'm a little embarrassed to name my number 4.
Is it Twister?
In lieu of some of the comments that have been just tossed out so far in this video so far, but I have to be honest. When I was thinking about it, I was like, I have to have this in my top 5 because I've been playing it off and on. Well, going on probably 40 years now. I probably played for the first time when I was 10 or something like that. I haven't played like consistently, but I've like dabbled in and out, played a lot when I was younger. Haven't played much in the past 15 or 20 years, but then mutual friend of Jim and mine, Corey Kerr, recently sort of got me back into it. I downloaded an app and played some beginner level games and realized like I still very much love this, and it actually is chess. Now I feel like I need to say right off the bat, if this helps, I'm not claiming to be very good at this. Like I'm fine. I'm very adequate at chess, but I do really love it. Like there's something about it that, first of all, again, I'm very much like a tactile physical guy. Just chess sets I get really excited about. Like I would love to own like a really cool chess set. Even if I never played, it's almost like having a Pac-Man cocktail table. Like I would just like to have it. You know,
almost like a fetish.
Well, a little bit. Like I love chess sets.
Larry, I feel you. I got really close. Like many people who watched The Queen's Gambit once during the pandemic, I was like, there's no reason I shouldn't know how to play chess. I'm in my 40s now. Little kids play chess. I should at least learn. And I was so glad that I did. But then I got so overwhelmed with anxiety because it is the limitless yet limited. I mean, AI can do this. It hurts my brain. It is hard.
And then there is a move. Intimidating.
There's a move that I learned about, and the first time I learned, they're like, "Oh, that's this other move, and it's got a French name. Do you know this? The whatever maneuver?
En passant.
Fuck en passant." That's when I was like, "I'm out."
I was talking to Corey about it just like a week ago. No, because he had never heard of it. I was like, "No, there's this pawn capture move that's sort of weird." No, so look, one thing I told, and this is why it's low on my 5. It's not lowest, but it's low. Is I can't casually enjoy it. There is a kind of a level of anxiety with it. And also the way I am competitive. If I'm playing chess, I like go in, and it's not something I can just sort of enjoy. It's a little intense, and it is overwhelming. And I've played it, like I said, basically off and on my entire life. And that's part of why I'm I kind of love it and admire it is it is as deep as far as you want to take it. You can take it that far. You know, it is like, and there's something really, it kind of, I mean, it's a big word, but awe-inspiring about it. When you really learn it and you learn it, it's realize like, I could play this game my whole life and I will never master it. Like there is something, if we were doing actual top 5 games, period, not favorites, but like top 5, I feel like chess is like a shoe-in for number 1. Just because of how amazingly designed it is, how deep it is. You can learn it's the cliche.
Even over air hockey.
Master, what's that?
Even over air hockey?
Air hockey is not a board game.
I don't know.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I do deeply enjoy it. The reason it came up recently, I don't know how it came up, but I was talking to Corey and Paul Pate, and we were all saying it would be fun if we just did total amateur chess tournament with like the people we know. Like, and let's not practice. Let's not try to get good. Let's all just play. Let's come up with like wrestler names. Like, let's just badly play chess. Like, we'll set a time limit so it's not these long, crazy games. Just for fun, just to fuck around with it. And that's where I downloaded a chess app to play. You know, just like, well, I haven't played in like 15 years, so let me kind of refresh my memory. And like I said, the first game, I was like, oh yeah, I really loved this. I used to really, really love this. And like, so I had to put it on my list. So
I know
mean,
checkers.
I think chess, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Pizza Power, the board game, is a spiritual experience.
It's a spiritual experience, yes. But it is, I fully agree with you, it's stressful. At least for me, it's stressful to play. It's not a pleasurable gaming experience. It's just an interesting, it's like playing Elden Ring. it's not relaxing, like it, you know, but it's engaging. Like it's involving. You're in it, but it's not fun. You know, it's kind of like, well, okay, now what? You know. But. All right, Jim.
A lot of people playing chess. A lot of people liking it. Not me. My number 3.
Ronnie is talking about all the different versions of Monopoly, all the license. I bet there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Monopoly.
Ooh.
I would bet money.
Yes.
That
Oh, I got a bone with Monopoly.
I'm dying to see. I mean, someone's got to have Monopoly on their list. Someone.
All right.
Someone.
Speaking of chess, in the parts where I come from, we call this game the poor man's chess.
Oh boy.
I love this game so dearly that I've called it Stratego.
Oh, I thought you were going for checkers. I thought you were going for checkers.
No, I learned how to play checkers and I forgot. So that's how much I'm into chess.
That is impossible. It's like forgetting how to play Scrabble.
Well, you'd have to remind me because I'm on Stratego now. And where else? You get bombs. You get guys with big hats. It's fun.
There are lots of hats.
Kind of looks like
I love Stratego, and it is very Stratego filled. It was very very thought out. I remember a couple times playing with the worst strategy, almost on purpose to lose, and you end up winning because nobody expects that strategy. So have you ever played Stratego? Either
I have not, so I would appreciate
it.
If you could give me
It's very much.
I have seen it collecting dust in the corner.
It's very much like it's, I guess, in a way like chess, because except in chess, you know that this one will defeat this one. This one, you can't see what the other guy's piece is. So if you put up a colonel against like a private, he's going to.
Oh.
And there's certain guys that, like a spy, can kill like the highest person up, but can't kill anybody below. You know what I mean? It's and you sacrifice your spies and these bombs, you know, and then there's certain guys that can almost kill nobody, but they can defuse bombs. So, and then there's a flag. If you see in the corner right there on the left corner, there's a flag, and you're trying to get to your enemy's flag. It's actually really strategy filled.
I have a question, sir, Professor. So if you engage a piece, so you don't know, so let's say we're playing blue right now and I see this red. I engage a red piece. Do I then get to see what kind of character that is?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so then like once I realized like,
It's like a memory.
But if
he
I
has
remember,
it like memory.
yes, but if I remember correctly, it like if you play that guy and he kills you, I think he flips it back around. So you have to remember that guy
You have
was.
to remember that. Oh, that's
Yeah.
a general.
Yeah, and I used to put my like flag way like a couple times I did this, put it way up in the front, and they would just bum rush the back, and then nobody.
Right.
Such a horrible.
This actually sounds really fun. I would like to play Stratego.
It's really fun. It is. It's a really easy, fun game. I played this as a kid, and it really does reflect your personality, just like chess. It reflects your personality, the way you play. If you try to trick somebody, or if you're trying to be real conservative, or if you're gonna, just go for it. And I used to play this all the time. So
I like dumb chess. Did either of you ever play the game Archon for the NES?
Yes.
Or for
like the Commodore 64 and the Nintendo, and yes.
Love that kind of stuff.
Yes.
There's a game called Risk, and I don't know if it's anything like this. I've never played Risk. Maybe it's on your list. I don't know, but
Risk is its own thing. Oh my God.
Yeah, Risk is its own thing, and I have a feeling someone has Risk.
Okay. But yeah, I highly suggest you guys check out Stratego. If you have it in the corner collecting dust, it's really fun, really easy to learn, and the different combinations of characters make it really interesting because, like I said, this guy can kill this guy, but he can't kill this guy. There's a lot of that, So, and there's bombs. There's bombs in it.
There's bombs.
Yeah.
There's bombs. So, do these numbers represent basically the power of a given character? Like, I see like 6 and 5 and 2 on these different things.
Does that man have a pheasant on his head?
Yes. There's many hats.
The hats. That reminds me, did you guys ever see that movie Immortals that had Henry Cavill before he was Superman and Mickey Rourke? It was like it was trying to cash in on the 300 thing.
Yes.
No.
A friend of mine saw it, my friend Jesse Bishop. Jesse, you'll probably watch on the rewatch. But Jesse, he went and saw it, and I mentioned that I was going to go see it because I like the director. I like the sort of art design of his movies. And I was like, how was it? And he's like, see it for the hats. See, because they all had these crazy, elaborate, like fantasy hats, and I thought that when you're like lots of hats in this game, play it for the hats. People.
Mary has a comment, and she's right. I think it's the lower number is the higher the rank.
Okay, so 1 beats 2.
Yeah, I would like to hear Mary's thoughts on Stratego, or if
Mary
anyone
apparently has played Stratego.
Who has played Stratego out there? So,
I want to play it. This sounds actually right up my alley.
Also, Stratego also sounds like an old childhood disease too.
Like the kids weren't washing their hands, and Stratego spread through first grade.
If you don't floss your teeth, you're going to get Stratego, and then
watch out. All right, Chris.
Oh boy,
number 3.
I'm really admiring that you somehow found numbers like.
Once again, thank you to BoardGameGeek.com.
I'm curious what Chris is going to use as number 2.
I was too.
Oh wait, okay. Let's see here.
Mary
on Stratego. I played this many times with my brother, who almost always won because he's a boy. Well, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, that is a rule of board games. Usually, the boy wins. Yeah, board games were,
true in the boardroom too.
Relationship with most board games.
Whoa! Hot take from Jim.
What did he say?
True in the boardroom too.
That's my political comment.
This one is
number 3. Too much of the Trump game.
Yeah. Do you have what it takes to be the next Trump?
Do you have what it takes?
Can you imagine?
Chris, be honest. How many different versions of that do you own?
You don't want to see my walk-in closet. This is, the Three Stooges, yes, had a VCR game. I learned that today at BoardGameGeek.com.
Wow.
But I'm glad I found it because it tied into my number 3 pick. VCR games were a big deal for a hot second.
Yeah.
And, so were DVD games. I think people remember those, like the Jackbox things and the movie trivia games. My friend Jesse got me this once. This is the Rich Little's VCR charade game.
I think I'd rather play the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
Absolutely terrible. But what you would do is you would pop this in to your VCR. And this isn't my pick, by the way. I'm just setting up what these are. And you would play a game and hit pause and hit play and see little video clips. And it was like, wow, interactive gaming.
Yeah.
First time.
At
You
least,
remember Captain Power? Captain Power
Yes.
was, so it's a similar kind of thing. Yeah.
at least the one thing about those VCR games is at least they were horribly expensive.
Yes.
Prohibitively expensive.
They had that going for them.
Yeah.
Oh, and at least you could only play them once.
Yeah, and you could only play them once because if you're like my brother, you would memorize the tape and in secret and win every time because we had the NFL VCR board game.
We had that too, Chris. I had that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And did your brother also or sister memorize the tape?
I think
he would pass on plays that he knew because he had memorized, like Rain Man.
yeah.
The
I
tape.
remember only playing it once, and I was like, "Wow, that was like going to Vegas and just blowing money."
Yeah. So that said, years later, I had the joy of playing a game that I had so much fun playing. It was so immersive and silly and great later in life and was needlessly complicated in parts. The Star Trek The Next Generation interactive VCR board game.
Chris, stop there. Stop. I bet you if you go to YouTube, I bet you can find that and play it.
That is absolutely what I was going to suggest.
Oh my God.
It is there. The top comment is, "Thank you. We lost our tape. We couldn't play the game." So this introduced Experience Beige into my life.
Is that Galron?
I don't know. I think it's a
so.
real
No, I think
independent
it's Jason
thing.
Momoa, actually.
And I think what's cool about this also is I think a real good director, like a TNG director, did the video. But anyway, this game is hilarious because I don't remember the exact plot, but you're on the Enterprise alone for some reason. There's a Klingon who's harassing you. You'll leave the tape on, unlike other ones where you're pausing and you're rewinding, you're doing different things. You're just leaving the tape on. So for long stretches, the tape is just this ambient space noise.
Wow.
It sounds a little like in Mystery Science Theater when they're outside the ship.
Mhm.
It's just this like, ooh, David Lynch ambient rumble. And then as you're playing the game, and it's great if you turn the TV up very loud, this Klingon will just burst in and say, "You! The one who is rolling now," which is fucking hilarious every time because it's whoever gets caught with the dice or whoever's. It's like musical chairs, right?
Right.
Same concept. You, the one who is rolling now, and then they humiliate you, or you have to experience beige. And I can't remember what beige is, B-I-J. But he says this no less than 1,000 times during the game to experience beige. And it's kind of a shorthand to this day to people who have played that game. It's just kind of seared into your memory. But this game was just a lot of fun. And if you like The Next Generation, which I do, it was just that much more fun. And they were, of course, stamped with this collectible number commemorative. I think they only made 50,000.
I mean, the board looks pretty cool.
It's super cool. It's the Enterprise. It's the deck. You've got all these cool little pieces. You get these, and I've still got it somewhere. You get these little medallions to pin on you when you win that are like ensign. It's all these like little Star Trek
Nice
things that you can wear that you kind of want to laminate, and they're like little collectibles. And
How come it's not called a board game? That's what I want. Why did they not do that?
they really dropped the ball on the board game.
Wow. Another one I did not know existed. I had forgotten about interactive VCR games.
I'm surprised you haven't. I was hoping you had played this, but I'm glad that.
No, this one I haven't. I played a couple of those interactive VCR games, but not this one. But I will be going to YouTube and watching.
Experience B. If we can get a copy of this before I visit Arizona,
and a VCR,
play this.
Yeah, right.
And
and a CRT TV,
and about a gram of pot.
You guys are gonna end up completely nude. I just know it.
Right.
Yeah, it's that kind of.
No, you know what I most want to see is the Klingon barge in and say, "You." It's holding the dice right now.
I want that in every game. I want that in.
Yeah.
Says that the one who's
I just want
now.
that clip. Can I find that needs to be a GIF that I can throw into just random conversation?
Does one of the Klingons look like Kramer and bust through the door and say that?
Yeah, and there's good reviews of this on YouTube. They can't. They cheap on a lot of the effects. They don't get any of the. There's no big. Picard cameo.
No.
That ain't happening.
You do have the game still?
I do not. My friend Jesse has it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I could probably get it from.
I want to see what this one goes for. If we
the fact that it's on YouTube is even better than if it was on TV.
Star Trek interactive VCR.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. So some of these VCR games, with YouTube, you can still enjoy them and have yourself a little board game night.
I wonder if the NFL game is on, and we can memorize it.
It most likely is.
Guys, there's not a lot of demand for the Star Trek: The Next Generation interactive VCR board game. Complete
$35.
No.
There you go.
Wow.
I mean, it's not that like this based on some of the games I was shopping for. Like this is a steal.
Gary, make it so.
It's like they pay you to come pick it up. That's crazy.
Engage. All right. Are we ready to move on from?
We're ready to move on.
All right.
I wish Rich Little was in the Star Trek game too.
Make it so, number one. What if W.C. Fields was that?
And James Cagney.
I think it go a little something like this. You little rat.
You play ball. I'm gonna.
Anyone tuning in right now? Like totally.
I know. We just lost them.
So this game, to paraphrase Seinfeld, is the game of world domination.
Yes.
Played by guys who can barely manage their own lives, and that is Risk.
Risk. I would like to try that. I've never tried it.
Risk is a lot of fun. Obviously, I think so. I put it as my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only drawback Risk has, right? It's probably one of the reasons it's not higher on my top 5, though 3 is a very respectable spot, is it's a lot of pieces and a lot of die rolling and a lot of stuff, and it gets a little unwieldy, especially late game when like the armies get really big and there's these big like battles happening. You're rolling tons of dice. You're figuring out which pieces are getting knocked out. That's why I recommend, if you have an option to play it this way, play it digitally. Play it on a computer, play it on a console, something where it's automating all of that. Now, see, Chris disagrees, but I know here, this is my thing. I was introduced to Risk on an Apple IIe with my friend Jason Shepard. I went to visit him in LA. I think it was an Apple IIe. It was one of the old Apples. And he had Risk on it. And it was very simple. Like you pick your countries and you automate, like you click a mouse to automate the die rolls. It was easy. It was fast. And like when you play, it's fun in its own way to use the board, to have all the pieces, to have all the die. But again, it's a lot, as the game goes on, it gets a little crazy. Chris, go ahead. What is your thought on this?
Just like, if you're going to play a game like Yipes, you can play it on your phone. You're going to play Risk, and okay, so Risk, I could never play it because I never felt smart enough. I never felt, I was too intimidated. But my friends were intense about this game, and so I watched a lot of Risk, and they were they were history nerds, and they had this set up in a classroom. I don't know. It's my understanding from these guys, like the fun way to play Risk is to have a permanent board set up somewhere because it takes weeks sometimes, and you obsess over it.
That's to me, and that's a disease, really. I've never.
But we were in high school.
Yes.
So,
well,
yeah.
I feel like. Well, first of all, here's my thoughts. First of all, if you're going to play Risk, if you're going to try Risk, I think it's best with 3 or more players. Like, it's not a great 2-player game. I would not recommend playing Risk 2-player. I think it'd be kind of boring, actually. 3-player is acceptable. I think it's one of the few games that probably gets better the more people you add. The only problem is, as people get knocked out, it's one of those games where, like a lot of board games, like Monopoly, like whatever, where people get knocked out and then they're just sitting around while everyone else is still locked in this game for hours. You know, so that's one potential downside of, if you can get 6 people to play Risk, that's probably ideal, but some people are going to be bored because they're going to lose right away. And
that
then
reminds me of the many.
A lot of rage quits. There are a lot of rage quits on this game too.
There can be rage quits, and there can be. It's also, it's not a perfect strategy game where there is an element of because it's die rolls. So like you can have some bad rolls and just get screwed, and it's not really your fault. But there's still tons of fun to be had. So if you've never played Risk before, you're presented with a sort of abstracted map of the world. Countries are divided up in strange ways. Like it's just to kind of try and make it sort of make sense. And usually when you're going around, you decide how many players there are, and you go around in the first couple rounds claiming a territory to start it. And that's where the game really starts, is because everyone has their favorite little strategy with Risk. Like, I want to try and start with just taking Australia and moving into Asia. Or I want to take South America first. Or I want to take North. You know, everyone has their idea of, like, this is the best way to go. There are, the more countries you own, the better it is for you each round. You get more armies. Some countries are worth more than others, so you can either play very conservatively and say, like for example, to me, the conservative move is like, I'm going to start from Australia. It's just
you mean like shithole countries, or do you mean
shithole countries, as Chris's boy Trump would say? But so, yeah, you know, you can play very safe and say, like, I'm going to start with a base in Australia and move out from there. It's very easy to hold because you're at sort of the edge of the world. It's not a lot of space. But you also don't get a lot of payoff from that. Or you can be ambitious and say, I'm going to start from Asia, and you have all this land you have to try to control. And lots of ways other people can attack you. But if you hold it, you get these massive armies every turn. So there's kind of a risk-reward thing to it. It is a ton of fun.
It's applicable to real life because the world is flat.
And also the world is flat, which we don't talk about enough.
And it comes in a box, too.
Sail right off the edge. You can fold it.
Well, I think most of all, the fact, Gary, is that you failed to mention that I summoned Kramer in the last segment. And
I know.
Here.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, and here we are. No, but again, the only thing about Risk, here's the 2 slight things that keep it at number 3 rather than 2 or 1. What are we looking at there? Is that gift wrap?
Festivus wrapping paper.
Look at that. See, it all comes back to
full circle.
Amazing.
The 2 minor dings against it. One, again, the setup, it gets a little crazy as it goes on. You're rolling a lot of die. There's all these pieces on the board. It gets a little crazy, like a lot to kind of manage. And then second, it's and this is going to come up with, I think, my number one pick. Sometimes hard to find people willing to play. And that's what's a little bit of a bummer about it. It's like, it's very easy if you're like, hey, let's play some Scrabble. If you're at a party, it's like, hey, we're playing Scrabble in here. Lots of people will walk into that room. If you say, we're playing Risk in here, people will walk in to watch, maybe, for like 5 minutes and then leave. Then like very few people are like me where they're like, I'll be blue, or like whatever, like should I bring a chair in or like whatever. So you're going to have a hard time finding people to play with. But other than those two things, I think Risk is a lot of fun.
List within a list. This is a good rage quit game. And like, what's some good rage? Have you ever rage quit a game? I think I have rage quit.
Oh, yes.
I think I've rage quit.
I've rage quit games by myself.
Okay.
Well, my number
brother
one
was a big sore loser, so it was hard to get, and then he was a sore winner, and then I was just kind of a shithead. It's hard to play those games.
My number one, I would argue my number one is the king of rage quit games, but we'll see when we get there. So,
okay. Curious.
All right.
What's next?
Jim?
Vertigo.
My number two is
number two.
Vertigo as well. But
wow.
I'm the red one.
Ha.
Number one. Okay, my number two. Somebody mentioned this earlier. And this was the game out of all the games. This was the game I think as a child I was best at. I could beat adults in this game.
Ants in the Pants.
With my psychic power. No, but that's actually some adults would play that game with me by themselves. Ants in the Pants. Not very much fun. So.
It's a terrible, terrible game.
Sorry. Thanks for bringing it up. This game is also, as Chris mentioned, called Go. But I know it as. I love this game. Loved it. I was really good at it too. I was really, really good. That's because I see the world in black and white. Very simple.
And Jim,
like Trump.
Jim, tell me how you felt about this. So you're a kid, right? You're playing Othello. The first time I lived next to this older neighbor lady who would love to play games with me as a kid, like little card games. She would pull these out of her closet, and it had that veneer of adultness because it's got that felt top and those little nice pieces. It's kind of like poker, but it's easy enough that a kid can play it, but it feels adult. So when you're beating adults, you feel like you're James Bond at the fucking correct
on the Riviera with a martini.
Just like.
And as a 7-year-old, I was like, finally, this tuxedo makes sense. You're exactly right. And adults would want to play it because it seemed like an adult type, board game. And as a kid, I was, like I said, I was pretty good at it, and I would win a lot at this game. So, it was fun. And it looked expensive. It probably cost $9 to make, but it looked expensive. Like,
Right. Now, could this be controversial? Is Othello not flat Connect 4?
No.
Well, I think it's simplified Go.
I don't know how to play Go. I've never.
Go, I think it's just like Othello, but the board's bigger.
Oh, okay, but
like sequence dice.
What is sequence?
Never played that either.
It's a little like Othello. I pull that. This is the only game I have on my shelf.
Chris brings up a great point. Maybe the point of the night is Othello Connect 4 on a flat surface for flat earthers. And I think, you know what, Chris? For the first time in my life, I think I realized you might be right. Although it's not 4 in a row only, but it is sort of.
Honestly, the take that I'm going to be thinking about later is that you could picture James Bond playing Othello.
Yeah.
You really could. You could picture him in a white tux with like some beautiful girl, like smoking a cigar, some weird Bond girl, or something like that. And
I could picture James Bond playing Yikes, actually, or Yikes. Very sophisticated.
I'm the monster now.
Yeah, I'm the monster now, Mr. Bond.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to pop a Matic double.
Salazar Art Nation has played every game with his ex-wife, and
I played Sequence with my ex-wife. That sounds like a song by the Cramps.
Why is Othello named Othello? Does anybody know?
It's got to be made. I was just saying, is that like a made-up, exotic-sounding word? Like
No, like
name Othello.
Shakespeare Othello, right?
Yeah, but that's not the. I mean, that's not what they named the game after, right?
Black and white issues of modern day.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe.
Okay, so Othello was originally reversey. Invented in 1883. Othello, a variant, was patented in 1971.
You gotta look out for those variants. Okay. Oh.
It says here, reversey was named after your dad's vasectomy. I can't say.
And then it was go.
Then it was go.
I'm looking for where the Othello name came from.
By the way, Chris, that's the first time on this show we've ever had a your dad or your mom joke, and I really appreciate that.
Couldn't even get it out.
And it will not be the last.
Okay, look, I stand corrected. Mm-hmm. The name was selected as a reference to the Shakespearean play Othello, the Moor of Venice, referring to the conflict between the Moor Othello and Iago. So the white pieces represent Iago and the black pieces represent Othello. If you had told me that before, I would have said that is complete bullshit. That is absolutely not true. That's ridiculous. And that's actually how they picked the name.
So let's stick with this thread because, now you've got a literary sounding name. You've got storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Flipping pieces. Whereas Connect 4 is just called Connect 4. And it's like clank, clank, clank.
I love Connect. But you know what? The modern version of Othello would be called White Discs Matter. So I'm sure that's coming out.
White discs are smaller.
Wow.
The white ones are.
So Othello also had this little.
I can't believe I'm the one drinking and you are the guy saying this stuff. But anyway.
We don't need drugs, Gary. We get high in life.
That's right.
And
Othello, correct me if I'm wrong, had a little plastic tray thing that would cover over the chips, so you could kind of.
Yeah, it was anti-gravity.
Very satisfying.
Yeah. So Othello, I love that game to this day. I haven't played this game in probably 20 years, but I think it was a great game. And thank you to whoever invented it, whatever culture invented it.
It is a life.
And by the way, Paul Pate has a comment from about 5 or 6 back. He's asking, has anyone picked electric football yet?
Not a board game. Not a board game.
It isn't.
Actually, isn't a board game.
Paul, much like you're a professional pinballer, Paul is a professional electronic football gamer. And he has injuries.
Just you put them on, you turn it on, you let it go.
I don't know why he does steroids, but it's.
Do you see what you guys did to the chat? Look at this. Do you see what's happening here?
Yeah,
This is all on you. You did this.
Do you have the Tonight Show theme?
I don't see colors. I just see black and white.
Okay. All right. Have we anything to add to Othello?
No, I'm saying go play it. That's my advice.
Actually, I want to play it, and because I want to be like James Bond. So, all right.
Wow.
All right.
Wow. Gordon. Look at, speaking of James Bond villains.
Now this looks like early 60s to me. That right
well, Mr. Bond.
Yeah, I had a friend's grandma who had a ton of board games in her basement, and there was an era of board games where they just looked aggressively unfun.
Chris, I'm a little concerned. You spent a lot of time with people's grandmothers as a child.
Yeah. Yes. But can't you smell this game? Just the mothball.
I can smell it. I can smell it.
Smell it. It's horrible.
Yeah,
anyway, so I grabbed it.
It smells like litter box and cigarettes. It smells like that.
Litter
box and cigarettes.
All right, my number two. Again, I think I've had the most traditional board games, Gordon games, board games, and that like
Board games.
these are all very roll and move kind of games, right? Like, and there's 1,000 roll and move games. This game I loved because, like I said, I got a bone to pick with Monopoly. Monopoly was the game that tore families apart, that we argued over, that I saw grown men throwing money at family reunions and stuff, like fake money, and just like no joy to be had. Nor did I understand the concepts of Monopoly that well as a kid. I just I don't know. So this game comes along and I eat it up because I'm already a fan of this particular brand and this art and this thing you're going to see. And it subverts all the things that Monopoly does. It flips it on its head, and you have the Mad Magazine game.
I had that game. Yes, I had that game.
Okay,
I remember
good.
now.
Okay.
Wow.
So the thing that makes the Mad Magazine game so awesome, besides this Jack Davis art, art on the front,
the box alone, it makes it worth having.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
That's awesome.
A Mad Magazine game from Parker Brothers, right?
I mean, boy, that's a good one. Oh, that's a really good one.
So my grandfather had this. We picked it up at a yard sale. Had all this stuff with it. I used to love to play it. This slide, I just put the rules because as a kid, here's the other thing people hate about board games, the rules. The thing about pinball is there's a common language between every machine. Even though the rules change, even though the look of it changes, even though the ramps and everything's different, there's a commonality of a language, of locking balls and multi-balls and pop bumpers and things. The thing that's so frustrating about board games is every time you drag one of these fucking things out, you got to start from scratch as far as understanding what's the mechanic, how many people, what does this mean? Because you're also defining the pieces of the game. What are these cards called? How many fucking dice am I supposed to have? So this game not only has fun with that, but it's funny. Like it made me want to write like a little bit. As a kid, because the object of this game is to lose all your money. So this game is so funny because they're just like throwing money at you, and you need to lose all your money because it's Mad Magazine. So everything's like opposite day.
Yeah.
So select the player, preferably someone honest, to be the banker. So they're like having fun with like goofing around, as you can see, like as you read these, and the rules are purposefully confusing.
Yeah.
You have to roll with your left hand or something happens. There's a card that just says this card can only be played on a Friday.
It's like a weird. It's like when we used to play weird drinking games in college, like 3-Man or something.
It's absurd in a way that's really fun. I think what I can compare it to is it's absurd, but it has internal logic. It's a lot like the WarioWare games, which is why my brother hated it because he loved, he was a rule guy. And he liked to exploit the rules and understand the rules. And I liked this absurd approach. And I liked the subversiveness and the undercutting of these game conventions and kind of things. And it was just a lot of fun. There were a lot of stunts you had to do. Like if you drew a card, it was like, if you can jump into the air for 36 seconds, you win $500.
Chris, didn't you find when you played this with people that liked regular games only, that they would kind of lose interest? They would just get like frustrated.
They would get mad. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's another way you would learn something about people. It's like when you play Mario Party with people. It's the same reason I kind of hate those games. There's a couple horrible mentions I have where it's like you can be doing really well and then you just get a blue shell out of nowhere and you're just fucked. This game isn't quite like that. Like it doesn't take itself seriously, but you're never quite angry if you get kind of dicked over. Because every square, as you can see, is its own little comic. They're funny. You're just having a good time.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun, I remember.
It's good sitting around.
A lot of laughing.
Rolling some dice, joking around, laughing. Yeah, it doesn't take itself seriously. So And this went on to influence just my sense of humor and things like that, I think.
I love it. Wow. What a great find. That is, I didn't even think about that one. That's fantastic.
I kind of want it.
I had forgotten about it, honestly, till we started talking about this stuff. I just would sit and think.
I'm going to YouTube this tonight. I'm going to check this out to remember it because
there's a great YouTube channel where these couple of guys just play old games and talk through them, and it's like, I know what I'm going to be doing next week on break.
Nice.
By the way, because of this show, this weekend, we'll have somebody over probably, and I'm going to play a board game.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, probably Yipes.
I want to find Yipes. I want to find Yipes. Actually, now let's check that. What does Yipes go for? I'm consulting eBay again. Now that we know the Star Trek game is only $30.
I've been vaccinated for Yipes and Stratego, so
I'm guessing it's rare.
$50, near complete. No, hold on. We don't want near complete. That's no good.
Mad Magazine underneath sponsored it already. The algorithm was already looking up Mad Magazine games for me, and Trump games, by the way.
Wow.
And Stratego. So the algorithm's onto us.
Corey Kerr, where are you? We need you.
Surprisingly, Mad Magazine, $30.
That's
I don't even know what board games go for nowadays. If you were to go buy Sorry, like how much would that cost?
Probably $20.
Really? Okay.
20 or 25.
More, you got Mad Magazine game.
They give them these wrappers of classic nostalgic packaging and stuff now, and
yeah. Like I was in a Target today, and they had almost every old game you can think of. Both a new version and then like an old retro version to kind of look like what you remember.
Either of you ever have interest in designing games? Were you those kinds of people? Because
no, I absolutely, I still do. Because in college I went down a Magic the Gathering rabbit hole, and I kind of enjoyed that idea of like a collectible card game, and I thought often with the comic stuff, Dinosaurs versus Marsbots, I thought maybe I could do like a collectible card game with it, but
so Chris, as a kid, I used to I'd make comics and force people to read them when they came over, and then I would make board games and force people to play them when they came over.
Paul, you're in luck.
Paul, you're in luck.
Yes, Paul, if you rewind.
Is Yipes on anyone's list? It's a great game.
It is now.
All right. Well, I want to track down Mad. I want to play Stratego. This is great. This is giving me a lot of
your love of your Stay Alive is my Mad Magazine.
Yes. Okay. Good. Oh, what a good feeling when your brain does. Ooh.
Yeah. And now Gary's going to set us back with something.
Now Gary's going to be like
angry.
Well, actually, this is one that we've seen. This is one we've seen already on someone else's list.
Yipes.
So it's not. Yeah, I did not know Yikes was a thing. So let's just go right into it. My number 2 is Trivial Pursuit. So, like I said, my family was a gaming family, and this was one of the big games. This was in heavy rotation when I was a kid. Now, I learned how to play in this edition here with this artwork on the board. It's Trivial Pursuit is, each edition is Genus 1, Genus 2. Like, the original one is just Genus, but then Genus 2, 3, 4 on. And then they have all the specialty ones like Simpsons Trivial Pursuit, Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, like all the weird specialty.
Incorrect questions.
I learned on this one, which is impossibly hard if you're not a boomer. Like the questions are, you have to be born in the 40s or 50s to have even a shot at half of these questions. And I pulled some just to give you an example. These are Genus 1 questions.
Wait, do we get to answer them?
Yeah, if you can answer them.
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay.
What were the names of the 3 Cartwright sons?
Hoss.
On guns? On what? Gunsmoke?
Little Joe. And Adam.
Holy shit. Oh, like, look at that. No, it's Bonanza. But I would have, You could give me 1,000 years, I will never answer that question.
Give me
like that's.
Yeah,
How about another one? What sport did the Philadelphia Atoms and the Dallas Tornadoes play in the 1970s?
I'm gonna say hockey.
Chris, do you have an answer?
No clue. Basketball?
Soccer. Who knows this? Who would ever know this? And like I was talking about with Mary the other night, you'd get these questions like, who won Best Supporting Actress in 1957? It's like, who fucking knows? Like that's
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like, you have to be to do this edition, you have to be a boomer. Now, that said, I sat in enough of these games where I could perform okay, not great, but I sort of just remembered some after a while. And it got to a point where I could play decently until the last pie or the last cheese I needed was sports and leisure, because I know nothing about sports, not one thing. Yeah. So everyone, like I could sometimes race ahead and get all the pies. And then like, I feel like I'm looking pretty good now. I just got to get sports and leisure and then watch everyone catch up to me while I'm like failing at sports questions for like 2 hours. Mm-hmm. That's generally my Trivial Pursuit experience. Even so, I do kind of love it. And just looking at this board with the old drawings and everything makes me so happy. Like I just really love the aesthetic of that board.
My specialty was Swedish erotica. I would do really, as a kid, I would nail that.
You knew that one real well. So, I mean, other than the fact it's horrifyingly difficult if you do the original version. And in my opinion, when you take the new, like if you bought a brand new one today, kind of stupid easy, like not particularly hard. So, and there's even a version now where if you get in it, so remember this old version, you would only get a pie or a cheese or whatever if you answer the question correctly on one of these cheese squares, like one of the ones that have like little angels, little cherubs holding a cheese. That's the only way to actually get a cheese, okay? They've changed it since, where I think there's editions now where if you get a correct answer on any of these colors, you get the cheese for that.
I don't know, but I'm hungry now, so.
That's not how we played it. It was hard. You get an exact roll to the middle.
Exact roll to the middle. So there could be someone who has all the pieces, but you're still in it because they're not able to land directly on the middle square. Yeah, the middle space. Mm-hmm. I was surprised it was my number 2. I had a sense early on what my 5 were, and I thought this would probably be 4 or 5. But I tested myself. It was like, if someone was like, these are the, like, how excited would I be if someone said, like, do you want to play this, and held the board in front of me? Of all, like, the ones I've named so far, Trivial Pursuit, like, the most. Like, Trivial Pursuit is like, let's play that. That sounds fun.
Remember how big Trivial Pursuit was when it came out? It was huge.
Oh, yeah, it was ridiculous.
Huge in the 80s.
Yeah. Huge in fun to just casually play. Like it's
yes.
So the thing I like about Trivial Pursuit over chess is like it has all the thinking with none of the anxiety.
You know, well, and also you know it or you don't. Like sometimes it takes a second to come back, but like it's not difficult. It's not like chess where you're trying to work out a problem. Mm-hmm. It's just like someone asks you a question, like the Bonanza question, and either you remember or you have no fucking idea. You never watched Bonanza, and it's that like, so it's not difficult in that way. Like it's just kind of, and that, yeah, you're right. It's like, to me, like Scrabble, where it's an easy game to have a beer and bullshit while you're playing.
Mm-hmm. Might have to do that this weekend.
And you either remember actor Peter Lorre's name or you don't.
Exactly. All right.
Good one. Very good. All right.
Wow, we're in the number 1. You know what? Before we get into number 1s, I want to just take a moment. Look at us. We're here. We're here. Number 1 board game. Jim's number 1 board game. What will it be?
All right. Best group of all time. I wouldn't dance around it. I wouldn't say, oh, it's the Sugar Cubes, or oh, it's Hall & Oates, the Pixies, perhaps. No, I would say it's the Beatles, and I have
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have
I
to go.
wondered if-
It is.
Look at that.
It brings out the douche. It brings out the dealer. It brings out the dancer in us all.
the dancer. The Duke, maybe.
What other game can you go to jail, buy a railroad, get out of jail free? You know, what other game can you own the electric company and Park Place? And so my favorite thing, it always turns into this with Monopoly with me. My favorite thing is making deals. The last time I played Monopoly, I did not win, but it was a permanent stalemate because I had deals with everybody on the table that I could go on their properties for free, and so I would.
No money is changing hands.
But right. And we just quit the game.
Right.
You know, I'm processing a lot of my Monopoly hatred, and I think I
talking about
Monopoly
it
when I was a kid because Monopoly is the first. And what you said triggered me, making deals. I remember playing this game and people started making deals. And I go, wait a minute, what the fuck's going on? And I realized I hate Monopoly because Monopoly is life. And life sucks.
Corey Kerr will back you up on this, Chris. Monopoly might be the game I hate the most out of all the games I've ever played.
It is. So, now, I won't attempt to remember any of this, but I do encourage people to look on YouTube because I think the story of how this game came about is amazing. I don't remember. It's weird, I think. It's a weird game. And Jim, it is that thing of like when people start making, I'm like, this isn't in the rules. You can't do this. And then when that domino falls and that guy is just owning people and you're just stuck in the game.
Yeah, I love being the chaos factor in Monopoly. I don't even play to win. I just play to disrupt the entire game. And it brings me so much joy because, like I said, I was going around the board. I think I even had a deal with somebody that I said, I get all your properties and I'll give you $200 like every time I go around or something like, and because they owned all the properties, you know, and it was just like never win, but everyone else is fluctuating. And it was just, yeah, it was torture, but it was fun.
I'll give it this. It's probably the first and only time I'll ever win $20 in a beauty pageant.
Yes, but
that was. I remember when I used to play with my friend Javier Garcia. I believe the card is second place in a beauty pageant, and like the retort was always, "Your ass came in first." That was always.
I remember when I would play with my friend Javier Garcia.
Yeah.
And
I shot him in the head because that's how I play Monopoly. No, do you guys buy up all the properties? Is that your strategy when you play?
I was going to ask now, how do you do free parking? How do you do, I don't know. I don't think
I have a lot to say about free parking, but maybe we should wait.
My strategy a lot of the times is not to buy up every property. It's to buy one very valuable property of each valuable property and keep it. And then
just never make a deal to allow. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I would tell them, it's mutual destruction then because you're never getting this if you don't make the deal.
My strategy is that of the 80s movie War Games, which is the only way to win is to not play.
It's to not play.
Is what I learned from Monopoly, which almost tore our country apart via McDonald's.
I think
Monopoly was literally created to show how sucky monopolies are. It's a lesson in trust busting. See how much it sucks to play this. Don't let this happen in real life.
I think Corey has some deep-rooted Monopoly trauma going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of Monopoly trauma here.
That's interesting because what I don't like from a marketing perspective is this modern Monopoly that I don't know if this is still going on, but there was these sort of trolly headline-grabbing monopolies that were rolling out. Did you see that was like Millennial Monopoly? And it was like I saw another one that was like Snowflake Monopoly. Or it was like they're very like. Do you know what I'm talking about? These
white nationalist Monopoly,
basically
the worst.
And then you've got the lowest of the low rent games, Blankopoly. Every town's got one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They all
Which I
suck.
never have-
Everyone's
There's like a
got
Super
one.
Mario Monopoly. There's like that's just all of them. Yeah.
Even the one
So-
like in my hometown, Rushville, there's one called Rushopoly.
Yeah.
And all the businesses are on. No one's played this once. I think it was just oversaturation for me and fighting over the Scotty dog, which was my piece.
Oh, here's another strategy. I always
This is good. Let's go around. What's your favorite piece? So
I go for
Chris,
the
you want the
whatever
Scotty
the
dog.
least desirable piece I go for. Whatever the ugliest piece
Wow.
that nobody wants, that's the one I go for.
You really are like a troll when it comes to Monopoly.
I totally am,
you're
because
just
if I didn't
totally-
feel like that, I would be out in like 30 seconds because I'm not.
For every Corey Kerr out there who seems like, show me on the doll where Monopoly touched you, there is a Jim Lujan who was playing against him and made him feel that way.
There was a Jim Lujan Weinstein that would just destroy there.
That's right. So what's if you have your choice of pieces, so Chris, yours would be the Scotty dog?
That's what we fought over usually.
Okay, what Jim, what is yours?
I like the shoe.
The shoe? See, well, then there'll be no fights with us because I like the little car. I like the little cars. So.
There'll be no quarrel with me, stranger.
Yes,
I like
we all can still be friends.
Until you're not collecting any money from me for the entire game, and people are saying this sucks, and you're making this game suck, Jim.
Yes. Yeah. You're breaking the game, actually.
And then, well, here's another thing I like about Monopoly. So when I get into those situations, I like when the other players go, guys, nobody make a deal with Jim. Like they start, and then one person breaks, and then you watch the anger. We had a deal, and he's like, sorry, bro. Now I have Park Place, and so it's just, it's chaos and horrible, and I am a horrible person, so sorry.
I would agree with Paul that the thimble is the least desirable piece, right? Nobody wants to be the thimble.
I'll be the thimble if I need to be.
But what is the word? The iron is pretty lame too.
They phased one out recently. That was another big.
Yeah, they changed them up. I think there was a battleship, maybe.
I remember when I was a kid, there was a dildo.
Yes, that's the one I would also pick.
And then they started getting fancy with the double, and it's enough.
It would take up 3 spaces.
Yeah, it's enough. Yeah, I don't need.
That didn't actually come with the game, Chris. I hate to break that to you.
No pun intended. So Monopoly, I unabashedly, absolutely adore Monopoly. But I will tell you this: I am not a Monopoly master. I am only a master of chaos. Now, I am not that good at Monopoly. Like I'm never like, oh, I own all the railroads and I own all. It's just I know enough to survive and cause misery to the other players so that they make deals with me, and much like in real life.
Hard to commit to a whole game of Monopoly, That's
Corey kind of touches on that as well. The worst part about the game is that at some point you know who's going to win, but you still have to play for 90 more minutes. It's kind of like real life with toothless antitrust laws. So Corey's not putting Monopoly on his top 5.
At some point, Corey's going to just accidentally type, "Why don't you let me win, Dad?"
What? Wait, okay. Chris. What?
That guy's reading your mind as we speak.
Wow.
2 games I discovered today. Yes.
That's amazing. Look at that.
Bridge for 2.
Gorin and
Bridge
from the era of personality board.
What's the guy's name?
This
Chaz,
is
Chaz Gorin?
Charles.
There's Gorin.
Oh, is it? Are this the same guy?
No.
Same guy. Bridge for 2.
Same guy.
But then he got divorced. So it was.
I don't know.
This is much later. He got divorced. That's tough. That's tough to go through.
And then he developed Bridge for 1. And how excited he is. So this is my number 1 game. And
you're lying. Wait, no. This is. Oh, I'm sorry. No. This is just the. I was like, okay, where?
How dare you?
Get the fuck out of here. This is not your number 1.
It's gonna be you.
Finish for God's sake, Gary.
It's called Rich Little's VCR charade game.
It's Trump, the board game.
It's Donald Trump, the board game. Which can we take
Rich
us? We'll
Little
get to that in the whole.
Home Orgy on VCR.
So this game, absolutely loved it. My God, I wish we still had it. I don't know how we got rid of it. I played this with my brother all the time. And it's two games that we combined into one mega game. Because they're so similar, they're designed by the same person and we loved playing them each individually. We would cram these sessions into a mega game that we would play on these rainy days. One of these games is so popular that there was a Kickstarter to remake it. They did. Looks great, but it's not as big as the original. These things came in a giant box. I never got the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier or anything like that. But when this came under the Christmas tree, I was like, what is this? I mean, it demanded to be played. Crash Canyon and Fireball Island. Designer Jim Kiefer. These games were...
I remember the Kickstarter for this.
Yes. So Crash Canyon comes out in 1989. It's a sequel to the successful Fireball Island. These are 3D printed games. They're in a relief. So they come in this giant box. They're molded. The board is this canyon. You play with micro machines. You can pick whatever micro machine you want. You can be, and there's a little strategy to that because some of mine rolled a little more. Let's say you land on a downhill space and you roll. That's part of the game. You roll on it uphill. You roll backwards. That's part of the game. You fill these little puddles with water. Your car falls in the water. Your car that bridge tips over. And you're just racing through the canyon. And it's so fun. So fun, in fact, we thought, why don't we put them next to each other? And it's a race to Fireball Island, a race up Fireball Mountain to get the thing, back to your car, back down the canyon, back home. This took hours. This took a long time. And at points, here is a look at on the right.
Wow.
That's the Kickstarter for the new Fireball Island. And then on the left is kind of the derpy looking original. It was this marble would sit in its mouth and you would turn
I
the
think
head.
I like the original better. I think that looks creepier.
I liked it a lot better. And the marble, it was molded. So the marble would roll out down these little pathways. And if your little guy happened to be there, the marble would hit him and knock him out. And you'd have to go back to the start or whatever. So it felt like playing like an epic Indiana Jones kind of adventure. It was just all adventure.
I'm going to have to YouTube this. I want to see it in action tonight.
Yeah. And it was just fun. I mean, you're a kid. It was almost like playing with action figures. Like we had these little worlds, there's water involved, anytime there's slime or water, good for when you're a kid. But again, these boxes were huge. They'd get beat up. They'd get shoved under the bed. They'd eventually take up so much space that you'd be like, maybe we should put it in the art sale.
Wow. Look at the artwork on the boxes too.
Yeah.
Incredible. And I wish I had a scale to show you. I mean, again, I was also like 8.
Well, I can see this picture. The kids playing the game on Crash Canyon.
Yeah, it's fucking huge.
Like,
I mean, they took up a whole table. Like it was like massive. And the Kickstarter one isn't nearly as big, I'm pretty sure.
Is that right? Yeah.
Like not even, I think it's probably half the size. I mean, it's just massive. And it was pre-Jurassic Park, I think, too. So had that kind of like island jungle adventure, Indiana Jones. I don't know.
I've never heard of this, but now I'm sold. I want to see this in action.
A lot of fun and a good stepping stone. So, and this might be somebody's number one still. I don't want to, but there was a game called like Hero Quest or something, or Hero something. It was kind of these pre-Magic the Gathering games, somewhere in the neighborhood of Dungeons and Dragons, but kind of in a game form. And there were like different games like that were, my parents were like, not in our house, fantasy wizards. too close to D&D, but that I had an interest in. So this was like enough, like to where I could have my little fantasy realms and stuff. Pizza Power was like that too. You were having battles, and it was more than just a board game. There was this like fantasy role playing element to it. So it was like my only outlet for that, because D&D was like verboten or too hard to figure out.
Well, the one so I missed out on the Fireball Island Kickstarter. I probably would have been into it, like if I had seen it, but I had missed it. The next one they did was they remade Dark Tower, and that was that kind of D&D-ish kind of strange board game, which I did back, and I've never played, because who am I going to play Dark? Like, so if you guys ever visit and stay for a few days, we're playing Dark Tower. Like, we're playing, like, but I remember, like, my friend Jason Shepard had Dark Tower, and we used to love it. It was this weird.
I remember my friend Jason Shepard, and we never played Fireball Island, but I hated Epstein's Island. That was not a fun game.
Yeah, Epstein's Island. Wow. And what a great name for a couple of games, Fireball Island.
Yeah, and Crash Canyon. That's pretty good.
Canyon, like,
but they're both awesome. The same company. Milton Bradley makes both.
Milton Bradley. Now these were designed by Jim Kiefer. So Jim Kiefer, cool guy. He designed Uno Attack, which is one of my favorite versions of Uno. It's where it spits the cards out. I'm looking at his thing. He's won Toy of the Year, Game of the Year. I think he ran Mattel at one point. He was a designer for Parker Brothers. So, he has a pedigree like some of these guys do. Some of them don't. I think it's an interesting job.
Chris, just the fact that you know a game designer means you win this episode.
I had just looked him up earlier today just to learn some more about this kind of stuff, because it is interesting. Like when you hear the stories of some of these things like that you love as a child, like He-Man and Masters of the Universe is a good example, because a lot of these guys were like fuck around pot smoking office hippies who were like doing these things, and it was a job, and
strangely enough, Jim Kiefer, very good friend of Jeffrey Epstein.
And it's like interesting to me, and I get that vibe from some of this, whereas today it's like to break into any of this is,
I don't know how you would.
It is Kickstarters, and it is like, I saw a guy on Shark Tank him and his parents came up with a board game, and I looked it up, and it had like torn their family apart. like not surprisingly, it's a lot of money, but it might be interesting to work for like Mattel or Uno or like Uno.
I'm definitely gonna YouTube this tonight, because this is one that it sounds cool, but I have a feeling I want to see it, like the car full in the water over the bridge. I can't believe you guys played both. You guys have played two, like going up the mountain.
It was kind of cool because at points, he'd still be in Crash Canyon and I'd be on to the next game.
Wow.
Or vice versa. And, or racing toward the end. And it's kind of cool.
I confirmed it is the same designer. He did Thunder Road, which is very similar to Crash Canyon. Well, not similar to Crash Canyon, but there's also cars. Thunder Road is kind of like a Mad Maxy game where you have Mad Max type game where you have segments of road with all these obstacles on it. Everyone has a car. The cars can attack each other. The obstacles can wreck your car, and you're rolling to see like how far you get down and what lane you're going to drive in and stuff like that. It's same designer. A lot of fun.
You mean it's not a game about getting inside Bruce Springsteen's Chevrolet after graduating?
No, it's not.
Oh, I just Googled Jim Kiefer. He also invented the shake weight.
Wow. No.
Wow, he's very diverse.
Thunder Road looks fucking cool.
Thunder Road is awesome, and that's the next game that Kickstarter company has like remade.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're hitting all the classics.
Wait,
take hold, Thunder Road.
Chris, between Fireball Island, Crash Canyon, you can only have one. Which one?
Ooh. Well, Fireball Island also sounds like a bad college drinking.
Yeah, it sounds like a bar.
Yeah. I think Crash Canyon. I've played both, and I would say Crash Canyon.
I'm going to have to say I think Fireball Island just because it's a little deeper. Crush Canyon is ostensibly is a car game that you're rolling around and then it's over. There's a little more like strategy and stuff with Fireball Island. I don't know.
Maxie.
That's it. And then
Don't
and
say Mad Maxie.
Mad Maxie. Yeah, it's Mad Max-ish. Mad Max-esque. Paul Pate is Twister board game. No,
with wings.
the beginning of the video. That's why I corrected after I said it. I was like, that sounds like a feminine hygiene product.
Twister is a board game, by the way.
Twister is not a board game.
It is a board game.
It's not.
No.
It's as much a board game as board games can get.
More like
And it's your number one, so how could you put it down?
Fully disagree. So my number one. So confession time.
Oh.
I'm a rule stickler. And I feel like I'm one of those guys. So Jim, when you talk about how you play Monopoly, it was getting me a little angry. Like irrationally angry about like, no.
I want to unpack this. Okay, yeah. Please unpack that a little bit.
I feel like these games were designed like, and there's a way to play them, and that's how we decide who's winning and losing, by following the rules of this game. And once we start going outside that, we're playing pretend now, guys. We're just goofing off. Like, what are we doing?
Gary, how did you feel when companies come out with like an Uno version that's like House Rules Edition?
I do not. I'm so against house rules, and number one is going to be talking a lot about house rules and how they ruin good games. So I'm a rule stickler, I admit. And look, I admit, makes me a pain in the ass to play with. For some people do not want to play a board game with me, and I get it. I understand. Because I want to play by the rules.
How many childhood friends did you lose, Gary?
A few.
Can you count them on two hands?
Well, it would just be a thing where it's like, well, we're not going to, like, I would realize I'm not going to try and play a game with these guys because they're going to, it's like Bruce Banner in the Hulk series. You're making me angry. You wouldn't like me while I'm angry. Like, I mean, it's like, I feel like
with a taboo buzzer.
Not how we're supposed to be playing. So that's number one. That's preamble to my number one. Second, this is the only of every board game I've actually studied. Like, I've like bought a book on how, like, I want to deep dive on this. I want to get very, very good at this because I love
Mall Madness? Oh, Judas. Judas's.
This, I love Monopoly. But here's my defense. Like, see,
Judas's.
So, okay.
We must play.
First of all, this is something I will say. This came up with all of you, and I was biting my tongue the whole time. Monopoly, more than any game that we've talked about tonight, will reveal you for who you are. Are you a fucker? Are you like a good winner, a graceful winner? Are you a sore loser? Are you impatient? Do you get frustrated?
Are you a symbol?
Is math hard? Like, you know, like, I mean, it's like all of this.
You want to make more money? Sure.
And how bloodthirsty are you? Like, how kind of merciless? If you see someone on the ropes, are you going to let them go under? Or are you going to, like, kind of have mercy? Like, I mean, you will learn a lot. If you could play Monopoly on a first date, you would avoid so many failed 2-year relationships. Like, you know, like these weird kind of because you would know everything you need to know about this.
How do you feel about donating to community chest? Are you stingy?
Very. Yeah.
Donating. No, you donate a prescribed amount. Whatever the card says, that's how much you put in. Now, here's the thing. Okay. Now, I got to say this. What a lot of people hate about Monopoly, okay, generally, this is what I feel like the most common complaint is, it takes forever. It takes like 6 hours. Not if you're playing by the rules. And that's part of my defense of being a rule follower. For example, free parking. Throwing money in free parking, you're fucking up the game. You are fucking it so, and it's so, unrecoverable at this point because you're just look. The point.
I can wait. I can just hear this speech coming.
I've had this lecture. I've had this speech many times.
11-year-old Gary's room with the
point of the game is
but Gary, we like giving money and free parking.
Is to drive people to bankruptcy. The game ends because you make people go bankrupt. If you have a lottery system, which is like the free parking thing, now you're extending the length of the game. And some people say, like, no, it's great. So look, free parking only goes one of two ways. And
I'm just saying no handouts, right?
No, that's right.
Gary's going to say, and all these thimbles coming over the border stealing our
right.
Gary's having
look, let me keep this as I'm going to make this as simple as possible. This is the problem. This is the problem with this is the problem with free parking. It has one of two effects. Okay. It either gives someone who was probably going to win anyway an insurmountable lead, which is not fun for the losers. Okay. Mm-hmm. Or it takes someone who was going to lose and shorten the game and give them a lifeline where they're playing for another hour and a half. Like free parking fucks it up. It's not in the rules. Everybody thinks it is. I absolutely refuse to play Monopoly if we're doing free parking.
And if you don't like it, you can go to your house.
What's that?
If you don't like
this
it,
is
you
where
can go to your house.
Games of Monopoly stop, by the way. Is like
this is exactly
no. Everyone's
not only that, and this is the last critique I'll have of house rules. Any house rule with Monopoly just breaks it. It makes it worse. The other one is like any kind of money collected goes into the pot also for free parking. Also terrible. Bad idea. This is another thing nobody ever does because they don't want to do the math. But if you do it, the game should be like an hour and a half. It should be a short game. If you land on a space and you elect not to buy it, it goes up for auction. No one does that. That's in the rules. Yeah. So some people are getting Boardwalk for $5 because somebody else doesn't have the money to buy it. Basically, in 3 turns, all the properties are bought. Like, I mean, and now it's like, okay, now people are start going bankrupt fast. Like, this isn't a 2-hour max game.
What about deals? Are deals in the rules? Can you make deals?
No, I'm anti-deal. And because of exactly the reason you said. If you say like, I'm going to give you a deal. If you land on this property, it's free rent. Now you've lost a way to drive someone out of the game, which means now we're playing until 3 a.m. Like it's all about keeping the game short and people losing. Like that should be the objective of Monopoly.
No, here's the objective of Monopoly.
What's that?
I'm going to tell you the objective of Monopoly.
To aggravate and alienate your friends?
The objective of Monopoly is to say, do we like this couple? Or do we like this new boyfriend? Because you're right, it reveals people. And
you learn a lot.
And in group situations, friends, new friends, dating, double dates, whatever, there's always that fucking guy. And you're like, I know all I need to know about this person. They don't know how to read a room. They don't.
Yeah.
They're throwing out free parking, even though Gary gave a speech at the beginning of the game.
Now, look, this is the speech I give to my friends, Jim and Chris. If I was playing with a bunch of half strangers, I would mind my P's and Q's. I would try not to make a face when I see the free parking move. I would play along, like, you know, whatever. But like if I'm playing, and especially if I want to play seriously, like really, like let's play some Monopoly. Let's play some Monopoly. Like I want to play by the rules.
Do you ever play by prison rules? And
you know, Gary, the other thing is, again, when these games reach places like my household, and these games have been around for a long time, they take on lives of their own because you can't understand the way this shit is written, which is why Mad Magazine was going to parody it.
Yes.
Because, you know, people, there's no glaze over like reading the rules to a board game and the figuring it out portion. That's such an art, you know, to the game design. I mean, Monopoly.
And I will grant you this. I've played Monopoly my whole life, and I know sadly the rules inside and out. But I can freely admit it's tough to get someone up to speed on Monopoly if they've never played. It's real tough, and it's not a.
Hey, there's 7.
What's that?
Because first of all, they're 7 years old.
Yes. Yeah. No, even if it's a grown adult, it's
And
it's
they
pretty
just want to
arcane.
eat. They just want to eat at a hotel.
Well, look, and that's the other thing, and this is revealing something about, as we pointed out, Monopoly reveals quite a bit. Nothing is more painful to me than starting a game at Monopoly and people starting to lose interest because they don't have the attention span and like drifting away. Like that, like, because if we are going to play Monopoly, like I'm excited. Like I, as much as I'm begging on House Rules, that's just talking about House Rules. I love Monopoly. I really get into it. I have a lot of fun with it. Even if I'm losing, I really enjoy Monopoly. So it's heartbreaking for me. Heartbreaking to sit down and this is the other thing you'll learn about someone, like their attention span. 45 minutes in, you can tell like they're kind of like, I don't know, do we really want to play this all night? Like, and it really breaks my heart. It's like, yeah, I want to play this all night.
Sorry, I spaced out there for a second. What was
I had it on mute. I had you on mute, Gary. Can you?
Yeah, I had you on mute.
So to quote the great Creed from The Office, he said,
Monopoly Companion.
He said that game's not realistic. He goes, get out of free cards, get out of jail free cards. In real life, those things cost millions.
Monopoly Companion. There are facts.
To quote Creed, the band Creed.
You've created your own prison.
What's this life for?
I can tell you the color groups that are actually the most valuable to own.
Oh, I bet you can, Gary. I bet you can tell us the color.
Oh, I can. And I have factoids that I only know from playing Monopoly. For example, if you roll 2 6-sided die, most people would assume that any number is equally probable. But in fact, that's not true. 7 is the most likely roll if you roll 2 6-sided die, because the most combinations of fall will result in a 7.
Yeah,
like, there's lots of ways to get to a 7. There's only one way to get to a 2, for example. There's only one way to get to a 12. There's lots of ways to get to a 7. Therefore, 7 is actually the most likely. If you're rolling 2 dice, 7 is most likely. Entertain your friends.
Gary, you'd also know that, though. You'd also know that if you played craps around Christmas time, like your old Uncle Chris.
Well, there you go.
7 is going to come up a lot.
7 is the most likely. Yeah. But that helps you when you're playing Monopoly and you get a sense of, well, we're all starting on go. Some people are starting from get out of jail because they went to jail. They're starting from the jail square. So, like, you get a sense of where are the most landed spots on the board. Like, and that's like, I mean, I love it. I love it. And that's why, because I love it, it drives me crazy when people are like, let's play in this crazy, shitty way that's going to make the game 6 hours and everyone's going to be angry.
But that's everything now, right? Everyone's like, this doesn't work for me. We're going to do it this way. And it sucks.
It sucks. It's like, look, the rules are actually very well designed. The board is it's a very well designed game. And like, you can't, I mean, every complaint I usually hear about Monopoly is you get 2 questions in. They're playing with house rules, and that's what's making it excruciating.
Is there an online Monopoly? Like, we could play like online?
Probably. Presumably, right?
Probably play with crypto.
And win NFTs.
Oh, yeah. I will say, like, speaking of design, like, not a word I hate, in fact, a word that is losing its meaning by the second. Iconic looking. Graphic design and art.
Yes.
All around. Same could be said for yikes. No, I mean, a lot of these Parker Brothers and Mattel, Milton Bradley games, even Milton Bradley's logos changed quite a bit. But like, this is fairly, some of it's an idealized version of the original, but not a lot of games like that.
If they could just combine Monopoly with Fireball Island, it would be awesome.
It'd be amazing. Jim, I'm sorry I had to leave you hanging for a little while. When you pick Monopoly as your number 1, I had to kind of sit and bite my tongue until it got all the way around to me.
It's the Beatles. It's the Beatles of board games.
It's a great board game.
Yeah, and
I understand. Like that, my summary thought is, I understand why a lot of people don't like it. I would suggest that most people don't like it because they've been playing it wrong. and it was taught to them wrong, Or because again, revealing, they're playing with assholes. You know, like I mean, that's the other possibility.
By the way, that's the worst Parker Brother game ever.
Playing with assholes.
Don't buy it. It's not as fun as it sounds.
No.
So I promise you, Gary, if I ever play Monopoly with you, I won't play Maslopoly style. I'll play by the rules.
Just to change it up, you should see what it's like to play strictly by the rules.
I will, and I'll gladly do that, and I'll even be the thimble if you want.
I would rather we all play Dark Tower because I have this Dark Tower game I've never played.
I don't
all
know.
Right. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Honorable mentions.
Wow, that was really deep. All right. I could not wait for this. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. I know for sure. Chris, you're going to cry when you see. So instead of honorable mentions, because my honorable mentions would be like Connect 4, I actually do like
Mousetrap.
I can't think of it. No, not that many.
I'm sad I forgot to add Mousetrap to my honorable mentions.
I was glad nobody picked Mousetrap because, again, a game nobody played actually.
No, I've never played it. I just like building the board.
Just build the thing.
I thought I would introduce some just really interesting games that I found.
Yeah.
So there's 2 slides, and I'll show you the first one here. But let's look at these and take a deeper dive.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is that Kurt Russell?
Warriors is new actually.
The Travels of Jamie I don't even know.
McFeeters. That's
Jamie
Kurt
McFeeters?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but look at how weird that looks.
Jamie with 2 eyes.
Yeah. So that looks very strange. I'm sure that's some sort of Karma Sutra involved game.
How do you do a Kojak box without Kojak with like Kojak's back on it?
Well, no, isn't that Kojak to the right?
No.
Kojak is he's holding the lollipop.
Again, my screen's minimized, so I can't. That's bizarre. No matter what, a Kojak game is really weird.
Yeah.
But,
what is which?
I don't know, but that's very satanic looking. Don't you think? It's a little bit demon possessed. Like one of those kids is walking away from that table to murder his family.
Possessed for sure.
So, yeah. And look in the middle, Little House on the Prairie, best game involving dysentery. So
even after
I can't think of another.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the Warriors game.
Yeah, that's new.
Must be amazing. I don't know, but wait, there's more. And then I have another slide here. There you go.
Whoa!
All right,
welcome back, Cotter.
Before I say anything, I have to say I had that Happy Days game.
Yeah.
I had it, and I remember it was really fun. It was a fun game to play. Yeah. I don't remember.
A real cool game.
Yeah, it was really designed really nicely, and it was just and it came out in the height of Happy Days, before the Shark, Bionic Crisis. Wow, look at that design.
I mean, I want to play it just based on the box. I want to know what that is.
Yeah, and then Lee Majors was dominating the game genre because he got the Fall Guy game, where I think it's just a long battle with his alcoholism or something. You know?
Lee Majors another great Genus 1 Trivial Pursuit question.
He would be, yes.
Welcome back, Cotter, where you play a 31-year-old senior in high school. And I'm sure it's a lot of fun. I'm sure it's
great. I'm sure it's very strategic indeed.
But that Happy Gaze game.
Happy Gaze.
It's fantastic. It's fabulous. You must try it.
It's Freudian.
But I had that game, and I just remember when I saw this, I wasn't trying to be ironic or anything. I was like, oh man, this game brought me a lot. This game was like a Mad Magazine vibe to it. It was really fun. I just
Happy Days was?
Yeah.
What about Welcome Back, Cotter? What the hell was that like?
I have no idea. That one you probably just get held back every year in school. That's how you win.
It's a fun game, I swear.
Yeah. Hey, I was playing house rules. I swear to God, Mr. God.
I was playing house rules. Give me a big speech about it. We're trying to play.
I swear to God.
Gay wouldn't let us roll.
I swear to God, I was going to put the money in free pocket.
I put a rubber hose on a free pocket.
Hey, sit on it. No, it's wrong. So, anyways, those are some little nuggets of joy that I thought I would share with you guys. Some fun stuff. I think that's it, right?
That's very good.
Next slide.
Those are great. All right, Chris. Honorable mention time.
Okay, some plus ones. All right, some honorable mentions.
That's about. I want to just applaud that you found a board that represents. And this one especially. This is the piece de resistance right here.
Yeah,
very good.
Again, thank you, BoardGameGeek.com.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. I just had a couple. Really? Just I guess the one for the. I really liked this game as a kid. Not fun. Dweebs, Geeks, and Weirdos. It was like a game you played with. I could never get anybody to play it with me, but I thought I was a geek, and like geeks weren't cool, but this game made it cool for something. It didn't. But it would be like little dares. You dare your buddies. It was like spitting contests and like this says tap dancing and make up things and like Guinness World Record stuff that we
This
were
is
really
kind
into.
of Cranium-esque, like where it's asking you to do things. Like
it let you act out things and there's an excuse to like put a shirt on backwards or do something stupid.
Did you guys ever have that game called Touch My Pee-Pee?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the Kickstarter after this. Dweebs, Geeks, and Pederasts.
I think the Pedo Brothers came out with that game.
Yeah, the Pedo Brothers.
Yeah.
But no, just it was a really bad game no one remembers, but I really liked it.
Did it have dice or anything?
No.
It's just cards. You just read cards and say, go like pick a
It might have had dice.
Well, it looks like there's a board. I mean, there's a I
have to zoom way in.
But it's all based on
these
embarrassing things.
Can we give it probably had a spinner, like the worst thing in the game. I mean, Pop-O-Matic Bubble, yes. Dice, yes. Spinners suck.
Like remember Game of Life had that awful
that dial thing? Yeah.
Okay, but it felt like you could kind of cheat it. Like
and it just
like life.
What about how do you feel about little plastic hourglasses?
The bubble or the thing you flip?
Oh, hourglasses? I'm all right with that. Well, like what that like Dictionary has one, right?
Yeah, I'm pro hourglass. I like the that like on Yipes, the little bubble that you press. I like that.
Pop-O-Matic Bubble.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Pop-O-Matic pops a bubble, pop it twice and you go double.
That's science.
Whoa.
Using that is science.
That's science.
So more importantly, Chris, did you play by house rules in this game?
Only. That is a thing. Gary, I was not a rule follower, if you can believe that. Mostly because I couldn't understand them, and we would just be like, "Oh, let's make it up." But also, like, I didn't care that much. I like Jim in that. I like the chaos of it. I like to see my father get angry.
Or Gary, our father.
Or Gary.
Yeah.
Who are in Phoenix.
Like I said, I came from a serious game playing family, and it was all about consulting the rules when someone was doing something wrong. I'm sorry.
I come from a serious game playing family. Yeah. Nice.
Come with me on the day of my dweeby daughter's wedding. With a weird request.
Yeah. You're gonna be sorry.
Now you got to rub out Sonny Corleone or go back 2 spaces.
So I have to say before the show's over, the thing that's going to stick with me the most tonight is Yipes.
Oh, is there a horrible mention? Should I go ahead and do those real quick?
Oh, I don't have a horrible mention. I mean, you could go ahead if you want. I have some honorable mentions.
Let's go ahead and get those.
All right.
Do it.
Same guy. Someone had asked if I worked at Wizard Magazine.
Yes.
Never Again games, right?
This is real?
Wow.
This is real. Yeah, no response.
How could it be bad?
I hated these games. Dizzy Dinosaur was one of the first games I ever had. This is a good example of some blue shell bullshit. Because it's a simple game for little kids, 6-year-olds, 5-year-olds. You roll the dice, you go around to get to the middle. When you roll Dizzy Dinosaur, you wind him up, and he just tear asses around the board. And anything he knocks into,
Sounds
go
terrible.
back.
They should
Sounds
combine.
Sucks.
They could have combined Dizzy Dinosaur with Chug-a-Lug.
Chug-a-Lug's a different game.
Drunk
Seriously,
dinosaur.
what is going on? First of all, look at
Well,
that.
it's going to get its own.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Okay, yeah.
Because I had to zoom in on it. So
This is in-depth.
You have to. You got to zoom in on that.
In depth.
I'll say Kroll, based on the movie, is just really complicated and hard and not fun.
Okay.
Splat is a game that's a great idea and was a big Christmas hit that year, where you actually make your board game piece out of Play-Doh. You have these little bug molds. So you imagine Monopoly, but you make your little Play-Doh piece like a bug. But at different points when you get fucked over, you splat the guy on the board.
Wow.
Oh, that's
So,
gonna go over
A lot
well.
of fun. Great idea. The problem is you play it once, you leave these pieces out, and they get hard
And dry.
as like nuclear waste. And one time we tried to splat one, and my brother like cut his hand open on this dry Play-Doh. And then the Star Wars Escape from the Death Star game from the 70s just was what a letdown. To get that cool box with the X-Wing,
Yeah.
and then get it out and play it, and it was just very like, as a little kid, I was kind of underwhelmed.
I think I played that once, and I was equally disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just let down. Not a lot of Star Wars stuff I had access to at the time, and
No.
I was like, oh no. And then Chug-a-Lug.
Let's talk
What
about
can-
Chug-a-Lug.
What can I say
Wow.
about Chug-a-Lug? Well, I can say a few things. I can say I stole this from a nunnery in Canada, which is what I did. I was on a school youth trip, or a church youth group trip to help. Who knows? We had a van full of white kids who were like, "We're here to help," and
And you stole from the nuns.
we ended up at a nunnery, and these nuns said, "You're here to help. It's time to start cleaning." And we fucking spent all day cleaning this convent.
So
Wait, the
somewhere
nuns had Chug-a-Lug?
They had a board game closet that was a disaster, and I was like, "What's in here?" And it was a disaster. So we took it upon ourselves to organize this thing. They had this game in there. They said it was donated, or somebody said. Anyway, we're on this high school trip. I steal this thing. I somehow get this back to the van, and then forgetting that we have to get inspected when we cross the border. So our chaperones ended up seeing this. We ended up getting to keep it. Seeing them look at it. We were like, we're not going to play it. We just think it's hilarious.
It's great.
I think
Look at
we
that
actually
guy.
tried
Look
to
at that
play
guy on the far right.
The far right guy is the star.
He's gonna chug a butt in a minute.
Yeah.
He's
And look at
The decision,
the girl
the
in the blue
decision to
sweater who's sued to have her likeness removed. I think is pretty good too.
the decision to put Super Party Game right over Gary's mom's face. Like,
oh no.
that's
Wow.
crazy. And then I love
Wow.
that it says the grand prize can be more than just a drink.
Yeah, what the hell? Like they're talking about what I think they're talking about, right? What is so?
I
What is
don't know.
Did you look up what the beverage is not included? By the
Beverage
way,
is not
This
included.
is
Yeah.
recommended for mature players.
Of
Mhm.
course.
You don't say. So did you look up how one plays Chug-a-Lug? Like what is?
We tried to play it, but it is one of these Spencer's Gifts kind of novelty. Like, I don't think it was meant to be. I think the joke is like we're drink. Everything is drink.
Gary, one doesn't play Chug-a-Lug, one lives Chug-a-Lug.
One lives Chug-a-Lug.
I
But
see.
this game exists in that area that I really like. That makes me. I can almost smell it. It is Spencer's Gifts
Yeah.
with the pink electricity ball, and the greeting cards that make you feel so skeezed out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
They come from a time and a place beyond understanding, a reason that you don't want to get too close to because you're afraid you'll get sucked into it. Like a woman with whipped cream on her who's
This
800.
is the only game that comes with a
Right.
free pregnancy test.
Yeah, and it's a skeezy thing and the time, and I love it for that.
Yeah, it is sleazy. Like everyone on that board.
Sleazy. Yeah, just
looks
sleazy.
sketch.
The
Looks
guy on the far left,
Uh-huh.
that's that Jim guy that designed Fireball Island.
Yeah, I think they're doing shots of Fireball.
Actually, the guy, let's see here, in the back, under 4-2 for 2 to 4 players, looks like my manager at Subway in high school. Like, I think that could be him.
I like this photo. I like that they put a little greenery in the background.
All the girls in this kind of look like Martha Quinn from MTV.
Wait, is this guy on the far right, is he on his knees? And if he's on his knees, like, what is
He is
how?
on his knees. Yeah, you're right. What
is happening here?
Oh,
It's
what's going to
Tony
happen
Orlando.
here?
Is it like levels? Is it one of those sunken living rooms? Like, what's happening?
Or he just carries his own knee cart.
Is he kneeling on a couch that's near the table? Wow. I have like this, you could stare at this forever. We could spend an episode just talking about this.
Yeah, in the 70s, everybody had a short little table and a fondue pot.
Yeah.
He has a
little
cart.
like Lou Ferrigno.
It's a little push cart that has a plant and a carpeted thing for him to kneel on all the time. Everywhere's my living room.
This is like one of the highlights of the show tonight.
This game should be called Yipes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Yikes.
All right.
The grand prize can be more than just a misdemeanor.
Is this the last honorable mention you've got?
Is there anything else you want to say about board games?
Well, I got my honorable mentions. So.
Oh yeah, I gotta look at Gary's real quick.
I got 4. First of all,
Operation.
Yeah.
I unironically love.
Is it a board game?
Well, it's a little. It's debatable, right?
I thought about Operation as well.
I that's why part of why it's an honorable mention. Like I don't know. It's hard. It's debatable. It's debatable.
No, it's a board game, 100%. But it just makes me nervous.
I love it. I love it. I would, and this is one of the games after we did this, when I saw it at Target today, almost bought it. Like almost like I want to play Operation. I want to play.
You told me as a kid you used to do that to animals too. So
they made a Netflix series about it.
They did. It's taxidermy. It's my hobby.
No, Operation was fun at the beginning, but then it just I don't know.
Operation.
No, I love it, and I love
fun as it. Gary, I would say buy it because it is more fun as an adult. Like you have a part. Look, you have parties. You're Gary. You have parties all the time.
He's gonna
not
play
really, but maybe it's an excuse to have a party when I
have a party. You leave this out.
Yeah, people will play this.
Fuck around with it. The rubber.
Well, and if for no other reason, you can get this now at Target with the retro edition. But let's just take a moment to look at this box art.
You'll have a better party if you get Chug-a-Lug.
Yeah, I can't really do that for family Christmas Eve. But and then like the board, look at that board. Look how terrible that drawing is, but also wonderful. Like
it's not really anatomically correct for the most part.
No, it's not. No. Which, by the way, the modern versions of Operation, they put like shorts on him for whatever.
Really?
Yes, it's stupid. It's unbelievable. Okay.
And I also, as I understand, that you don't use a hacksaw in surgery anymore, or while you're awake.
He rip open his chest in the.
That is a little. That's kind of an old-fashioned way to do it.
There's stabbing motion.
Yeah, look at that. Look, and you know, I usually have kids helping out with like buckets, and
they will give you that spa towel for your dick, though. If you
that is nice. That is nice. Catan. Catan's an honorable mention from me. This is the reason it's an honorable mention and
No,
not
no.
higher on the list. I have to admit, I probably only have played it like 4 times in my life, and I don't feel like that's enough to like. But I have really enjoyed it when I've played it.
Never.
Like,
I've honestly never heard of it.
it's probably the first big kind of European style board games that like hit the like when now it's like Carcassonne and Ticket to Ride, and like they have all these different weird elaborate board games now. This was like the first one that broke out. I think it's German in origin. It's really fun. It like a lot of these European games, you're not really in direct competition. So it's not a game where you're gonna really again like see what people are really like. Like you're not gonna really be like infuriating like it's not like a lot of direct conflict.
So it
You're
doesn't
doing
have
your thing.
no free parking, nothing like that.
What's that?
No free parking, nothing like that.
No free parking, no house rules.
No house
Like,
rules. This isn't Nom.
It's a there's rules here.
Yeah, rules here, Chris. When you play Catan.
It's a very relaxed game, but it's a little involved. It's a little complicated. The board is a little bit of a pain to set up. Like it's not an easy game to play, but I find it really fun. Again, like I said though, haven't played enough times to say like, oh, I'm gonna put it on my top 5. Battleship.
Oh yes, very good.
This is another one I almost bought at Target.
That's a good one.
Like, I love Battleship.
Do you like Battleship or electronic Battleship?
I like this old school version right here with the folding. Like I'll play any version of it, but I like the simple, just. And I remember as a kid, it was fun, like figuring out, like, is it clever to put all my ships together in one giant square, and like so people or do around the edges. Remember, you would like ring the edges, and people would be like missing until they figured that out, and then they're like killing you in like 4 turns, like no big deal.
They made a movie out of this game.
They did. They did. And then finally, wasn't Rihanna in it?
Yes. Yeah.
I think she was. Axis and
Allies. Hey,
now,
I apologize. So I had Risk confused with Axis and Allies.
Yes. Axis and Allies is like if Risk is for some reason not complicated enough for you. Like, let me introduce you to Axis and Allies. Now, Axis and Allies, the reason it's an honorable mention, first of all, I haven't played it since college. Because like a lot of the other games on my list, it's impossible to find someone who will play this game with you. Like, it's too involved. Now, I maintain Monopoly is a 1 to 2 hour game if you're playing by the rules. Axis and Allies, it is like a 6 or 8 hour. It's terrible. It's like it's an endurance. It's a marathon. You need people who are willing to sit down and play this game, maybe over several days. Which is impossible to find, especially at our age. You're never going to find someone who's willing to do that. It's also very complicated. The rules are like a little magazine in the box. Like it's too much. But
it helps if you have a deep understanding of the actual history of the.
It kind of helps and actually that's part of what I like about it is, so for people who haven't played, you get to choose from 5 nations. It's World War II. You get to be either the United States, the UK, Germany, Russia, or Japan. Chris and his boy might pick Germany. No one's going to judge. Whatever. And what's interesting about it is it's totally asymmetrical. Whatever country you play has different strengths and weaknesses. So like Russia has a ton of people and not a lot of money. And the United States has an amazing manufacturing base and a ton of money, but not a big army. And like, because this is beginning World War II, we didn't have a military up and running yet. Japan has tons of like air force power and naval power, but there's always like this push-pull. Like there's something they have, but something they don't. And you play out World War II.
France has no spine.
France has no spine. Canada, we don't even know what's going on. But it's kind of fun to play out this what if where it's like, playing out World War II, but maybe Japan wins and takes over. Maybe Japan takes the United States, or Japan like decides to invade Russia, or whatever. Weird things like that where it's kind of fun. It's super dense. It's super complicated. I'll probably never play this game again for the rest of my life. because it's impossible to find anyone. And even if you can find someone who's game, once you show them the rules and you tell them, it'll probably be like a couple days of play. Like they're out. Like they're not. I'll be lucky if I find someone to play Monopoly with me. I'm certainly not going to find someone to play Axis and Allies with me. But I did love it. And in high school,
have you heard of Craigslist?
What's that?
You heard of Craigslist?
Yes. Nice. So, but in high school and college, we played a ton of Axis and Allies. And I have a lot of fond memories of being up all night, drinking Jolt Cola with my friends, playing Axis and Allies, and it was like very happy memories. But it's never gonna happen.
This is the game, not Risk, that I didn't understand what was going on, but I would watch these games go on for weeks. I was like the Ava Braun of Axis and Allies. Like I didn't really know what was going on, but I was just kind of there. I would just watch.
Risk is actually, in my opinion, Risk is not complicated. Like a person can learn Risk very fast. Axis and Allies is kind of like taking a class.
It's no Stratego.
Yeah. It's no Stratego. It's no guess.
It's no Stratego. But
no
so
Stratego.
that's mine. Those are all my picks. That's it.
It's good picks.
All right. Axis and Allies, the world power version of Hungry Hippo. I like it.
Let's just throw that up one last.
Hungry Hippo.
Hungry
Hippos.
Very nice. I think we all agree that house rules are best in Monopoly.
House rules.
And I think this was a powerful episode, you guys.
We have 6 people watching. I think this is the time for people to start shouting out their favorite board game of all time.
Favorite board games of all time.
Come on, chat. Come on, chat.
Now, I'll take this opportunity to thank you and wish everyone a happy holiday and New Year, and I hope I can see everyone in the new year. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for setting this up, Gary.
Well, this was a great suggestion also, board games.
And you know what Sammy's favorite game is?
Oh,
Catan.
Oh, the zoomies. The zoomies.
No, actually, it's Yipes. So.
Hey, I'll show you this since we have one. Do you remember the game Outburst?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
It's these cards. You get a topic, and then you would have to like yell out as many as you could.
Well, let's play. Let's play one round.
Let's play around.
I can't because it's supposed to come with a red, lens.
Oh man, do you got any more trivia, Gary?
But
no, those are the only 2 trivia questions I had.
Things you blow.
Whoa.
Yeah, these aren't great.
Well,
did anyone yell out a game?
I hope people weren't bored watching this episode. Get it? Episode.
Wow. Here, I'll leave some people with some good Monopoly tips. How about that?
Yes.
Does anyone want to take a stab at the best color group for Monopoly? The best of all Monopoly?
Let's not make it a racial thing. Anybody could play Monopoly, okay?
Yeah, Gary.
What's the best one, though? What would you call, like, the master color?
Are you speaking about, like, the most valuable squares?
The most valuable property group in Monopoly.
Okay, I'm going to say the obvious blue.
Statistically. Like, strategically, statistically.
It's not railroads?
Railroads are very good, but I think they're actually technically, like, number 2 or 3.
Utilities?
No.
Oh, it's obviously the brown ones.
Brown ones? Oranges.
Some person is half right. Orange is the best. Orange is absolutely the best for 2 reasons. First of all, high likelihood you'll land on it because it's about 7 spaces past jail. People are going to jail. They're getting out of jail. 7 is the most likely roll with 2 die. People are undoubtedly hitting those orange properties all the time. So that's number 1. Chris is falling
not
asleep.
anymore. I'm introducing legislation to route those people right around that corner.
Second,
This is
When
gonna
you
be
look
a
at the
mayor.
cost to develop to return ratio, oh yeah, I'm going there. What it costs to build them up to hotels versus the return you'll get on rent is the best of any of the property groups in Monopoly. So right.
Wow, but our house rules say that
Yeah.
negate that,
Yeah.
and on
Those
every
hotels
third
do
turn.
look delicious.
So everyone out there, try to get the orange. Everyone's trying to get Boardwalk Park Place. Let them have it. Get the orange.
And give the thimble a try. Just give it one try.
Give the symbol a try.
Yeah.
People will underestimate you.
It's actually an upside down trash can, which makes it kind of cool.
And if you have access to
Now I want to play it like that. I want to.
if you have access to the winning Monopoly McDonald's pieces, absolutely steal them.
I hear that's a fantastic documentary.
And sell them. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
All right. So wait, what's the other show we did? We did fast food, right? With
Fast
Chris
food.
and
Fast food.
We're gonna have to do another one with Chris.
We absolutely.
Anytime, I'm honored.
Well,
it
so this
has to
is
be
one-
something I know a little bit about, but don't really know too much about.
Chris,
So
I
is
might have one for you. Now, Jim, we've talked about this a little bit, but so Jim and I have
Something
talked about
something like animals.
that we're not doing animals again. Jim and I have talked about how
Cat,
we
fuck
might
you.
start gradually, like top fives, maybe once a month.
Yeah,
Like, stepping back a little.
yeah.
But as a result of that, I've encouraged Jim, and I'm going to do the same thing. Come up with the ones you absolutely must do, or you won't be happy. Like, what are top fives that must be done? You know, like in the name of top fivedom. And one of mine, and Chris, you might be wanting to get in on this one.
Yeah,
it's top 5 console games. We did top 5 arcade games, but console games is still up for grabs. And I know you'll have opinions on that.
a lot of consoles.
It's a lot of consoles and a lot of games.
Console knowledge now stops at Xbox.
That's fine.
I'll tell you guys one of the ones that I was going to be, and again, this might not be our next one, but down the road. But my go-to one is top 5 film directors.
Yes, film directors absolutely should be in there. We also have not done
top 5 slang words, American slang.
Yeah.
I think that would be great. We also did top 5 broadcast free network TV. We have not done top 5 pay TV. We haven't done like top 5 cable and streaming type shows.
One day. Top 5 Corey Kerr injuries. That's on
top 5 Corey Kerr injuries.
Well, I like these top 5s where you guys are doing new ground. You know, like I really like the network TV one for that reason. So and like this one, like dredges up weird memories about board games I totally forgot about.
Yeah,
like I don't need to talk about Breaking Bad.
Well, maybe we can kind of push off.
I want to talk about Rich Little's VCR.
Top 5 stand-up comics. Top 5.
So like if there's something with a little twist in there.
Top 5 80s movies.
I think the 70s.
It's going to be a lot of Star Wars.
In my opinion, 70s had better movies than the 80s.
All right. Well, top 5.
That's true. The 70s was the best decade for movies.
Yes.
It's inarguable, almost.
Yeah, I think so.
80s, different kind of movie.
80s were fun, but 70s were, I think, better.
Better.
So
not always the movies I want to watch the most.
I think the three of us need to think about this.
Yeah, but Gary,
top 5.
We should think about it. We got
what
time.
What are the top 5 that have to happen? Have to happen.
Have to happen. Okay.
I don't
it's
want
just
to
not
do,
right if we don't do it.
I mean, I know you suggested top 5 religions, but I think that's just a little bit, I don't know.
You're the one. I thought, didn't you suggest top 5 races? I thought you did.
Well, you suggested top 5 hottest child actors.
You know, for Wizard, I wrote the top 50 hottest comic book movie babes of all time.
Did you really? Did you really?
That was my first feature.
Who was number 1?
Wizard had a lot of content like that.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
And I wrote it.
Who were some? Do you remember anybody on that list?
Oh, almost all of them. It was like Rebecca Romaine Stamos as Mystique.
I want to believe you can get it read in that voice. Like I would like just
Ooh, they're hot.
audio version.
They're trotting. Here they come. It was all and I wrote it in a really like not Maximy way, thank God.
Yeah, I could just feel the lens flare coming out of your voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's our homework, guys.
All right.
I will.
What are top fives you have to do? What is the top fives you need to do?
There you go. So we don't know when, we don't know where,
We don't know when.
We're gonna invite this boy
year.
right here again because he's good addition. So
he's good. Well, and okay, so there is the one that we've talked about and was scheduled and then it got delayed. We do still intend to do top 5 amusement park rides.
Yeah, that's gonna be it's going to be a very long show, Chris, because we're gonna have our significant others, but it'll be a shorter show because Gary and my rides, I think they're gonna be identical. It's not even a question. I think
we already figured out that Jim and I
must be this tall to ride this podcast.
Jim and I like baby rides because we're cowards. We're just total.
We don't like roller coasters.
I will be watching and I will be having so many thoughts because I watched the YouTube roller coaster channels and all the theme park stuff. I was a scaredy cat ride person and my mom got me riding roller coasters. My mom's a daredevil.
My God.
She got me into like Batman the ride and stuff. And then I had a late life like love of rides. So I started like going down these rabbit holes of why Six Flags is going out of business. Like that.
Well, see, the significant others love crazy, scary rides.
Yes,
and
they do.
I want to go out with them. I want to hang out with them.
That's why they're with us, because they like crazy, scary rides.
That's right.
But you like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride? Is that what you
Yes.
like Captain
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Captain
Not unironically either. I love that ride.
I do like that ride.
Baby ride.
My top 5, like everyone's gonna know them, and they're gonna they're for kids. They're for little kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same here.
Spider-Man at Universal Studios?
Never been on it.
Never been on it. I've never been to Universal Studios.
Have you been? Oh, the Mummy roller coaster? Holy shit!
Never been on it.
Fucking terrifying.
I'm sorry. I've been on California Screamin'.
That's a great name for a coaster.
Yeah.
Like bar none. That's like the best.
That's a good roller coaster, right?
California Screamin'? Where's that at?
In California Adventure.
Oh, I haven't been there.
Okay. It's a real roller coaster. It's an actual big roller coaster, but I went on Colossus. I've been on that.
Oh, Colossus, yes.
I don't know. I've probably been on 5 roller coasters my whole life. I hate roller coasters.
I hate them so much.
Yeah.
I love them. I got to go to Dollywood with my nieces this summer, and I had the experience that I had when I was a kid, and my parents were like, it's not going to be scary. It scarred me for fucking life on the mine train. You know, you get to the end and they go, hold on. You go into and it's a drop. So I put me off rides forever. And I was on one of those with my nieces, and I genuinely like fucking hand to God thought this nothing. And we get to the scariest. I just looked at her like, I'm sorry. I was wrong. It's about to be bad.
This is actually part of why I'm a baby about rides, because I had too many experiences like that where they went on. It's like, no, it's not bad, and I was terrified the whole time.
Yeah,
and that apology the apology is 60% of the way through is when like you're like, oh,
yeah,
oh.
That's exactly my experience every time I played Chug-a-Lug. Terrible. But should we wrap it up, fellas?
It's my experience after making people play Monopoly with me. The next day, I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Gary House Rules Hodges.
House Rules Hodges. Guys, I know it got a little out of control last night.
New nickname. Everyone watching this, we're going to.
What's up, House Rules?
House Rules Hodges.
Can I update my name?
All right, House Rules. And then we just start calling him House for short.
What's up, House Rules?
What's up, House?
What's up, House
There we
Rules?
go.
Got any tips for us?
There. Updated mine. There we
Got
go.
any tips on how not to have fun?
Frank, you heard your calling.
I am telling you, though I sound like a lectury school marm, I'm telling you, if you play by the rules, it's more fun. More fun. That's what people don't understand.
I just want that.
Why do I sound like Jerry Seinfeld when I'm talking about Monopoly?
It's more fun. Play by the rules.
Play by the rules.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in.
Then Gary, I will say I'll send you this once we get off here. It's a board game about safety tips that I found. Kids love it.
We'll just be sending Gary a bunch of the rule books so he can just
the rules.
Enjoy.
I'll study him up. I'll explain how to play.
Rule porn.
I'm surprised. So nobody, and I'm not complaining, but so nobody wanted to even name Clue as an honorable mention, huh? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Clue's good. Clue's good.
You know, some of these games you could. What hasn't been said about Clue? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, but it's all like, do you have an attachment to it? You know.
That was another one that, like, I don't know if I was from a dim household of dullards, but we were like, I can't figure this out. You can move anywhere.
I think I've only played it twice in my life. And
we played Hi-Ho Cherry-O and Candyland.
Candyland, yeah. I remember Candyland.
Shoots and Ladders, Mousetrap.
Did you know that Shoots and Ladders is actually a really old game, like an Indian game? It's a snake and something, snakes and ladders.
What?
Yes.
Yeah. It's based
on the head of the class. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with my list.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go study some rules and
Wow.
Yeah.
You better if you're gonna play Monopoly with me. That's all I'm saying.
You got it. We know who the banker is.
Yeah. You're the banker.
That's usually that's funny. That's the downside of being like the Monopoly expert is like, oh well, we'll just let you be banker, and we'll let you figure out, because when you unmortgage something, there's like a percent that you have to, and like when you're figuring out tax, you remember all that stuff like that. That's what you get awarded with, that privilege. If you're
Gary, what's your sign?
What's that?
What's your sign?
Capricorn.
Okay.
That seems like a chug-a-lug question. Seems like...
Now put your keys into the hat.
Right. Keys in the bowl. What's your sign? Let's play chug-a-lug.
I think that's what Settlers of Catan is for.
All right. Guys.
All right.
Have a nice Christmas. If I don't talk to you before then, Merry Christmas.
Safe if you're traveling anywhere.
And all the people watching at home, Merry Christmas. Thanks for watching. More top fives in the new year. Get ready. Strap in.
All right, guys.
Going on there.
Have a good one.